Vol 2, Chapter 784, 5 Minutes of Death, Middle. On one of the 3 satellites orbiting the Terminus planet, which was under the control of the Fourth Civilization, Matt Horner had constructed a massive mass launcher with a diameter of 50 meters. However, due to a lack of resources and time, he was unable to build a sufficiently powerful reactor on the satellite, which limited the launcher's capabilities. Initially, Horner intended to use the mass launcher to bombard the surface of the Terminus planet. But as the war evolved, he devised a new strategy for the mass launcher, which became a pivotal part of his final plan. In a desperate bid to turn the tide of battle, Horner committed nearly all available resources. In the 2 minutes following his order to concentrate fire on the Republic's flagship, a Prosecutor-class battlecruiser, despite its formidable shield, the Fourth Civilization suffered heavy losses. 3 large battleships were destroyed, over 10 were damaged, and more than 18,000 officers and soldiers were killed in action. Yet, they achieved their objective. A projectile launched from the satellite struck the relatively lightly armored hangar platform of the Prosecutor-class battlecruiser, piercing it like a nail. This projectile was, in fact, a Drakh-class landing ship, a creation of the Technology Alliance under the Confederation of Independent Systems. Designed specifically for boarding combat, the Drakh-class landing ship was a response to the Confederation's need for a vessel capable of delivering combat robots into the heart of enemy ships. The ship, measuring 18.51 meters in length, featured 4 powerful robotic arms, making up 2/3 of its length. Each arm was equipped with a high-power laser welding gun capable of breaching the outer armor of most active warships. Originally, the Drakh-class landing ship was intended to penetrate Republic battleships, creating an entry point for combat robots to engage in boarding actions. However, due to the need for significant power to breach battleship armor, most of the ship's volume was dedicated to the robotic arms and the high-power welding system, leaving limited space for cargo. As a result, a Drakh-class landing ship could carry only 30 combat robots, a number easily countered by the elite clone troopers of the Galactic Republic. In practice, even if multiple landing ships managed to board a Republic battleship simultaneously, the few hundred combat robots they deployed were typically eliminated within 5 minutes. But this time, the Drakh-class landing ship played a crucial role. Launched by the mass projector, it targeted the flagship of the Republic fleet, the Prosecutor-class battlecruiser. As it flew, Horner ordered his fleet to unleash a barrage of fire, breaking through the battlecruiser's shields in just 2 minutes. Less than 10 seconds after the shield fell, the Drakh-class landing ship embedded itself into the hangar platform of the Prosecutor-class battlecruiser. Its powerful laser welding gun swiftly cut a vast hole in the battleship's armor. "The Separatist landing ship is here," came the alert. "There's only one, but it's estimated to carry 30 to 50 combat robots. Be cautious and deploy immediately." "Activate the internal automatic turrets," was the immediate response. The Prosecutor-class battlecruiser housed over 500 clone Marines. Upon receiving the alarm about the incoming Separatist landing ship, they quickly began to organize their defense. Despite the Confederation of Independent Systems' previous failures with boarding tactics, this time, the element of surprise and the strategic use of the Drakh-class landing ship had given them a unique opportunity to strike a critical blow against the Republic's flagship. The Drakh-class landing ships had been deployed on numerous battlefields, but their fate was often sealed either by interception from Republic fighter jets or by being decisively destroyed by Republic battleships. Any breaches they managed to create were swiftly repaired within 5 minutes, thanks to the efforts of advanced engineering robots. Consequently, the Confederation of Independent Galaxies found themselves frequently resorting to deploying dozens of combat robots alongside the landing ships. Despite the relatively low cost of 48,000 credit points per Drakh-class ship, the losses were becoming unsustainable. On the other side, the Galactic Republic viewed these landing ships as negligible threats. Nonetheless, they maintained standard defensive protocols, though they were confident in the outcome. Suddenly, a 1.8-meter-thick slab of steel-resistant armor, cut through by a laser welding gun, crashed to the ground, its edges still glowing from the heat. Republic Marines, poised and ready, aimed their blaster rifles towards the breach, expecting combat robots to emerge. Instead, a chilling howl echoed from the Drakh-class ship. "Be careful!" The clone commander's warning was cut short as a towering behemoth leaped from the ship. Standing 3 meters tall, this humanoid monster was clad in thick armor, linked together by iron chains. "Fire!" At the clone commander's command, a barrage of blaster fire lit up the area. However, the blood-red energy beams were effortlessly deflected by the monster's armor, leaving it unscathed. It straightened up, surveying the clone soldiers with a leisurely gaze, its black eyes gleaming with contempt from beneath its helmet. This was no ordinary combatant, but a secret weapon sent by Tang Xiao to Matt Horner, a monster forged through Sith alchemy, known as an educator. This formidable creature was the result of a significant sacrifice, almost costing Horner his entire fleet. Yet Horner's faith in Tang Xiao and his belief in the educator's ability to turn the tide of battle was unwavering. With a thunderous roar, the educator charged through the blaster fire, its immense strength evident as it sent clone troopers flying with a single punch. Catching a rocket fired at close range, it detonated it in its grasp, unfazed by the explosion. It plowed through the clone troopers' ranks, its destructive power unchallenged by their combat armor. The educator's rampage continued unabated across the prosecutor-class battlecruisers, leaving devastation in its wake. Jedi Master Toka, overseeing the fleet's operations, drew his lightsaber and led a contingent of over 200 Marines in a desperate attempt to halt the monster's advance. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Drakh-class landing ship. Please remember the first domain name of this book for the mobile version's fastest updates. Vol 2, Chapter 785, 5 Minutes to Death, Part 2. The Indoctrinator unleashed a deafening roar, its presence akin to a humanoid tank wreaking havoc within the confines of the Republic's flagship, a prosecutor-class battlecruiser. "Quick! Quick! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!" The Marines aboard the battleship shouted as they scrambled to organize layers of defense. However, their efforts were in vain. The Indoctrinator was not only immensely powerful and seemingly invulnerable, but it also possessed astonishing speed and reflexes, catching rockets fired by clone troopers and hurling back grenades with ease. After decimating the clone Marines who had attempted to form a defense, the remaining crew and ordinary soldiers aboard the battleship descended into panic. They ran in all directions, only to be overtaken and mercilessly killed by the Indoctrinator. In a chilling display, the Indoctrinator seized an engineer, demanding in a guttural tone, "Ship, bridge." The engineer, paralyzed with fear, managed to point in a direction with trembling fingers. Without another word, the Indoctrinator cruelly crushed the engineer in a grotesque ball of flesh, blood dripping ominously from its hands. Suddenly sensing a presence, the Indoctrinator whirled around and hurled the macabre sphere. A green lightsaber flashed, slicing the flesh ball in two, though blood and gore still splattered across the figure of Jedi Master Toka. Following the tragic demise of Jedi Master Adi Gallia and others in a raid against the Sith Lord Death Angel, Toka had risen to become the Supreme Commander of the fleet, a position mandated by the Supreme Strategic Command of the Galactic Republic for all Jedi Masters accompanying the army. Despite his high rank, Toka knew his strengths did not lie in commanding operations. He chose instead to offer guidance through the Force. Upon hearing of the monster's invasion of the battleship, he had led a team of Marines to confront the threat without hesitation. The sight that greeted him was beyond repulsive, yet he felt no revulsion, only a profound sense of the dark side's influence. This is the dark side force, he realized. The Indoctrinator, sensing the light force within Toka that it so despised, charged at him with a ferocious roar. The Marines opened fire, unleashing a barrage of energy beams that exploded upon the Indoctrinator's thick armor, heating it to a glowing red. Yet, the Indoctrinator remained unfazed by the assault. Toka narrowly dodged the Indoctrinator's attack, his lightsaber leaving a deep gash in its armor. Enraged, the Indoctrinator focused its wrath solely on Toka, ignoring the other Marines. Toka was taken aback to find his force prediction unable to foresee the Indoctrinator's movements, leaving him vulnerable. A close call with a vicious elbow strike, and a swipe from a broken iron chain on the indoctrinator's arm armor sent Toka tumbling. A desperate roll saved him from a crushing blow that would have ended his life. "Damn, we can't destroy this thing. Prepare to abandon the ship," Toka commanded, his voice echoing through the chaos. Despite his inability to predict the indoctrinator's actions, he could sense the imminent threat of death. The indoctrinator was already upon him, its speed unparalleled in the confined space of the battleship, leaving no room for escape. In a desperate bid for survival, the Republic fleet commander was frantically orchestrating the Marines' efforts to thwart the indoctrinator's advance. "When will the 3rd Marine Corps arrive? They need to support Master Toka immediately." He barked orders. "Seal off compartment H-78. We must halt that abomination," he continued, his voice laced with urgency. "General, we've lost communication with several sections. It's imperative you evacuate to another warship at once. The Flame is already en route to assist," his adjutant advised, concern evident in his tone. The fleet commander's expression darkened as he surveyed the chaos unfolding on the screens before him. However, before he could respond, a tremendous force struck, the bridge gate. The repeated booming sound sent shivers down everyone's spine. "It's here! It's breached the door!" someone yelled in panic. Another deafening crash echoed as the metal door buckled under a massive blow, a gigantic hand tearing through the breach. The figure of the indoctrinator loomed in the doorway, dragging a body by the head. It was Master Toka. The sight of the Republic officers and soldiers seemed to amuse the indoctrinator, who, with a sinister grin, exerted pressure on his grip. With a horrific snap, Master Toka's head was crushed, his lifeless body dropping to the floor with a heavy thud. Meanwhile, Matt Horner, commander of the 4th Civilization Fleet, was making strategic moves of his own. "Deploy the Kesov-class battlecruisers," he commanded. The Kesov-class battlecruisers, which had remained concealed behind the fleet, sprang into action. Their 10 large external pods unfolded, revealing the raiding spacecraft nestled within. These small ships, designed for rapid deployment between battleships, were launched towards the Galactic Republic's flagship, the Prosecutor-class battlecruiser, which had been ominously silent since the battle's onset. However, the Kesov-class battlecruisers didn't stop there. They pivoted, setting a course for the planet Terminus. The raiding spacecraft were unleashed en masse towards the planet's atmosphere, resembling a fiery meteor shower from the ground. These ships, braving the dense anti-aircraft fire, had a singular target, Firmos City, the capital of Terminus. This marked the beginning of an unprecedented orbital airborne operation, an all-encompassing aerial assault on Terminus, a strategy that would forever alter the course of the conflict. Please remember to visit the official website for the latest updates. Volume 2, Chapter 786, Orbital Airborne, Part 1. Orbital Airborne represents a daring strategy devised by Matt Horner. Despite its thrilling name and the dramatic approach it suggests, orbital airborne operations are far from glamorous. They involve deploying troops from low Earth orbit, approximately 2,000 kilometers above the surface. To enhance penetration, these troops continue to accelerate until activating reverse thrust engines just before reaching the ground. This reverse thrust is crucial for deploying parachutes and ensuring a somewhat safe landing. However, this method is fraught with danger, bordering on the suicidal. The gravitational acceleration experienced during descent is immensely powerful. Even with heavily fortified orbital airborne capsules, survival is far from guaranteed. For context, traditional paratroopers jump from altitudes of only 2,000 to 3,000 meters, making the leap from 2,000 kilometers a feat requiring not just bravery, but sheer madness. The 4th Civilization had only conducted preliminary studies on the feasibility of such operations. The High Command identified several obstacles. The lack of appropriate warships, equipment, and personnel, coupled with the high risks involved, meant that the formation of an orbital commando unit was not a priority. However, pressed by Tang Xiao's one-month deadline, Matt Horner, driven to desperation, revisited the concept upon witnessing the prototypes of the Kesov-class battlecruisers at the industrial star ring of the Dawn planet. Orbital airborne was not just a wild idea for Horner. After studying the capabilities of the Kesov-class battlecruisers, he believed it was worth attempting. This operation would involve using raid aircraft, originally designed for jump gang operations, and launching them towards the planet in reverse. Horner's gamble hinged on the hope that the shields and anti-gravity devices of these raid aircraft would enable the passengers to withstand the extreme gravitational forces. Success would mean delivering a surprise force from the sky. Failure would result in thousands of iron coffins plummeting to the planet's surface. In warfare, there are no second chances, only the opportunity at hand. Failure to achieve success on this attempt would alert the Republic, diminishing the impact of future raids. Horner was aiming for a decisive victory in the first strike. Above the city of Firmos, the capital of planet Terminus, thousands of raiding spaceships descended amidst a barrage of anti-aircraft fire. These spaceships engaged their thrust reversers and deployed parachutes only when they were less than 200 meters from the ground. Landing with a thunderous impact, fueled by the kinetic energy of their descent, the doors of the spacecraft opened before the friction-generated heat had even dissipated. More than a dozen soldiers clad in second-generation N7 combat armor burst forth, unleashing a barrage of fire upon their enemies while swiftly seeking cover. These soldiers were the elite warriors of the Fourth Legion, the most formidable fighters of the Fourth Civilization. A total of 6,000 Fourth Army soldiers participated in this audacious orbital airborne operation. For Matt Horner, this was a gamble involving one-third of the entire Fourth Army. Failure would mean the loss of one-third of the Fourth Legion's soldiers, a devastating blow that in Horner's most optimistic scenario would require him to offer his resignation. In the midst of chaos, the battlefield was not just a scene of human soldiers clashing, it was also the ground for a more sinister warfare. Among the numerous raiding spaceships that descended upon the city, it wasn't just human combatants that emerged, but a terrifying array of biological weapons known as Injori Avenger 101. These formidable creatures were the result of a harrowing experiment, combining the resilient bodies of the Injoli with the deadly T-virus and the Nemesis parasite. This concoction was tested in the Battle of Christopher Sis, proving itself as a potent weapon capable of turning T-tide in any conflict. However, the Injoli's robust genetic makeup presented a challenge, resisting the T-virus and Nemesis parasites to some extent. This resistance meant that the Injori Avenger 101 retained only a marginally higher intelligence than what their instincts provided, rendering them incapable of wielding weapons. To compensate for this limitation and enhance their combat effectiveness, scientists equipped them with automatic laser guns. The modification process was rather unorthodox, involving the removal of a B-1 combat robot's head to install the laser weaponry. While this setup might have seemed peculiar, and the laser guns themselves were not particularly powerful, it granted the Injori Avenger 101 a crucial capability for long-range combat. Due to the hurried nature of these modifications, the language systems within the B-1 battle robots' heads were left intact. This oversight led to the continuous, almost comical, broadcasting of "Roger, Roger" from the robot heads mounted on the Injori Avengers during combat. Despite the chaos, this simple and crude tactic of orbital airborne deployment proved effective. The city of Firmos was engulfed in warfare, with the widespread deployment leaving the Republic Army scrambling to mount an organized defense. As night descended, the city's shadows began to stir with more than just the aftermath of the day's battles. Mercenaries, previously disguised as allies of the Republic, had smuggled dangerous cargo into Firmos under the guise of chaos. Bribed by the Hutts, the Terminus customs officers had turned a blind eye to the mercenaries' spaceships, allowing them to pass without thorough inspection. These mercenaries, having maintained a facade of bravery against the robot attacks, seized their opportunity to unleash havoc from within. With the cover of darkness, sinister figures emerged from the hidden recesses of the city. These creatures, known as Lickers, were among the few T-virus-infected beings deemed suitable for combat after rigorous testing. Unlike the T-103 Tyrant, which could barely withstand a few shots from a DC-15 blaster gun, the Lickers moved with terrifying agility. Their humanoid forms, capable of navigating walls and ceilings with ease, sharp claws ready to strike, exposed brains pulsating, and long tongues lashing out, they became the night's most dreadful predators. As the city of Firmos descended into a night of terror, it became clear that the battle was not just fought with soldiers and guns, but with the very fabric of science and morality, twisted into weapons of war. Vol 2, Chapter 787, Orbital Airborne, Part 2. The Lickers, lurking in the shadows, posed a significant challenge for the Republic Army. These silent predators could emerge from almost anywhere, launching surprise attacks. Although their claws were incapable of penetrating the battle armor of the Republic's clone soldiers, they could still knock the soldiers off their feet and viciously target the armor's vulnerable seams. The situation in Firmos City was dire. The city was not only defended by clone soldiers, but also by a large contingent of local garrison troops from the planet Terminus. Unlike the clone troopers, who could quickly regroup and counterattack when faced with orbital airborne assaults and lickers, the local garrison troops were utterly unprepared. Panic ensued at the first sign of an orbital assault, with entire units disbanding in fear, scattering in all directions without offering any resistance. In less than an hour since the orbital airborne operation commenced, the Fourth Civilization's army had seized control of over one-third of the city, with their dominion expanding rapidly. The Republic's forces found themselves trapped with no clear path for retreat. This was the devastating effectiveness of an orbital airborne assault. On a conventional battlefield, the 6,000 elite soldiers of the 4th Legion and the 2,000 Injori Avengers 101s would not have made such swift progress. The clone army had fortified the western outskirts of Firmos City with a layered defense strategy. They had not only dug trenches with the help of robots, but also used a vast quantity of sandbags to fortify buildings, creating numerous strongpoints. Sandbags, due to their excellent properties for absorbing and dissipating energy, were also used as makeshift bunkers when portable laser fences were in short supply, providing effective cover against blaster fire. The Galactic Republic's clone army was well equipped, boasting a significant number of ATTE walkers and AV-7 self-propelled artillery. The local garrison of Terminus, too, had a substantial arsenal at its disposal, including artillery and mortars supplied by none other than Santa Claus Yuri Orlov. Orlov had become a notorious figure in the galaxy's black market, not for the scale of his operations, but for his unique preference for heavy weaponry. While other arms dealers focused on smuggling blaster rifles and grenades, Orlov had a penchant for more substantial firepower, like howitzers, mortars, bazookas, and rocket launchers. Despite being considered outdated, these gunpowder weapons remained highly effective. Orlov's contraband, strictly regulated by the Galactic Republic, found a booming market amidst the outbreak of war. His business flourished, leading him to establish clandestine factories dedicated to producing various munitions. Terminus was among his major clients. Facing such fortified defenses, the Fourth Civilization's army would inevitably encounter fierce long-range firepower. Even if they managed to breach the outer defenses, the Republic's soldiers had established numerous strongpoints and defensive lines within the city itself. Such fortifications were so formidable that even a renowned strategist like Wilhoff Tarkin acknowledged their effectiveness. He estimated that it would take the Separatist forces at least a year to capture Firmos City, assuming they were willing to sacrifice countless soldiers in this grueling conflict. With the situation in space equally precarious, the forces on Terminus found themselves isolated, fighting a seemingly insurmountable battle. From the planet Dawn, a confrontation looms against the 18th Army of the Galactic Republic, which enjoys unwavering support. The disparity in strength between the two sides is immediately apparent. The Galactic Republic's mainstream media has been fervently celebrating the anticipated victory in the Battle of Terminus, employing every tactic in their arsenal to craft sensational headlines. Shocking revelation. Governor Tarkin hospitalized. Power descends from the skies. The 19th Army's quest for revenge fulfilled by a single command. Experts outraged predict Dawn Planet's fall within a week. Decoding victory. Speaker Palpatine's decade of preparation. Governor Tarkin's fatal flaw. Overestimating Dawn Planet. The widow of Sarama, mourning for the 19th Army, vows loyalty to none but Tarkin. A medical professor claims Tang Xiao of Dawn Planet suffers from war addiction, offers discount on treatment post-capture. Amidst this fervor, citizens of the Galactic Republic eagerly await the triumph they see as inevitable. In stark contrast, the Confederation of Independent Galaxies views the situation with grave pessimism. Count Dooku, recognizing the dire circumstances, advised Tang Xiao during a visit to the second planet of Lussax that, if necessary, Dawn Planet could retreat, even conceding the former 19th Army headquarters, Planet Haven. He pledged that once General Grievous concluded his campaign on planet Bosavi, he would lead a fleet to relieve the besieged 18th Army and rescue Dawn Planet. The galaxy at large perceives Dawn Planet's situation as untenable, doubting any possibility of a swift resolution. The outcome seems predetermined. Dawn Planet is poised for defeat. However, under Tang Xiao's unwavering leadership, Matt Horner defies expectations with daring strategies both in space and on the ground, declaring through their actions that their civilization, the Fourth Civilization, will undoubtedly prevail. Raiding ships descend like a meteor shower, their hatches opening to unleash the ferocious Fourth Legionnaires and the fearsome Injori Avengers upon the unsuspecting Republic forces. Key Republic positions, including the AV-7 self-propelled artillery and the quadruple blaster cannon air defense, are obliterated, leaving the battlefield strewn with the smoldering remains of ATTE walkers. Employing orbital airborne tactics, the concept of a rear guard vanishes as strategic points are systematically annihilated. Trenches, crossfire setups, and even strategic reserves prove futile against the relentless onslaught. The battlefield is engulfed in chaos, with no discernible front lines, only relentless combat and brutal close-quarters fighting. The Fourth Civilization's army launches a comprehensive assault, exploiting their organized ranks and superior long-range support to strike the Republic forces at their most vulnerable. The Republic's clone troopers, known for their physical and tactical prowess, find themselves outmatched. The Fourth Legion's soldiers rival them in skill, while the physical might of the Injori Avengers renders the clone troopers' blaster fire almost ineffective. Caught off guard and overwhelmed, the clone troopers stand no chance against the imposing Injori Avengers, marking a pivotal moment in the battle where the tide turns decisively in favor of Dawn Planet and its allies. I'm sorry, but you haven't provided any specific text from the novel that needs to be revised or enhanced. Could you please share a passage or chapter from the fan fiction that you would like me to work on? Vol 2, Chapter 788, I Am the Catastrophe. As the Fourth Civilization launched its all-out offensive on the terrestrial battlefield, the conflict in space reached a critical juncture, determining the outcome of the war almost simultaneously. The Indoctrinators mercilessly eliminated every crew member aboard the Republic fleet's flagship, leaving the formidable Inquisitor-class battlecruiser an empty husk. Adhering to the protocols of warfare, the Republic fleet swiftly appointed a new commander to lead the charge. However, haunted by the shock and fear of the previous events, the new commander hesitated, trapped in a delusion regarding the fate of his predecessor. This hesitation cost them dearly, as he delayed the order to obliterate the now vulnerable Prosecutor-class battlecruiser. By the time the decision was made, it was too late. Two Kesov-class battlecruisers had already launched a preemptive strike, deploying over 10 landing crafts filled with B-1 battle droids and crew members to board the Prosecutor-class battlecruiser. This swift action allowed more than 500 operators to infiltrate and regain control of the ship's defenses. As the nearby Chaser-class battlecruiser, Flame, aimed its turbo-lasers at the Prosecutor, its formidable deflector shield absorbed the brunt of the attack. The Prosecutor-class battlecruiser then retaliated, unleashing its firepower on the surrounding Republic ships as it made a beeline for the Fourth Civilization's fleet formation. The Battle of Terminus was a catastrophe in every sense of the word. Both the ground forces and space fleets suffered immense losses, with cities reduced to rubble and ships obliterated. In this dire situation, Governor Wilhoff Tarkin of the Galactic Republic's 18th Army deployed the Prosecutor-class battlecruiser, a 2,500-meter behemoth that seldom ventured from the Milky Way's inner circle. Alongside the Governor-class and Commander-class dreadnoughts, this ship formed a crucial part of the Republic's inner defense line. Despite their inferior combat capabilities compared to the Chaser-class battlecruisers, these super-large warships were significantly enhanced by the lifting of restrictions under the Santeri Treaty. Equipped with larger shield capacitors, more potent turrets, additional fighters, and faster engines, their combat effectiveness soared, disregarding cost efficiency. Thus, under Governor Wilhelm Tarkin's influence, the Prosecutor-class battlecruiser descended upon the planet Terminus, its presence alone a formidable force against the exhausted fleet of the Fourth Civilization. The only hope for Matt Horner, the commander of the opposing forces, lay in the Cole-class battlecruiser's 40-meter caliber supermaterial electromagnetic gun and the Martha-class heavy cruiser's devastating fire cloud missiles. Now the tables had turned, and it was the Republic's fleet that faced the overwhelming might of a Prosecutor-class battlecruiser. Despite sustaining severe damage in earlier battles, the ship's firepower remained unmatched by any Chaser-class vessel. Its deflector shield, powered by capacitors 4 times the size of those on smaller ships, presented an almost insurmountable obstacle. The Republic's battleships, lacking the firepower of supermaterial electromagnetic guns, found themselves at a significant disadvantage, underscoring the catastrophic impact of the Prosecutor-class battlecruiser on the battlefield. The battle's tide turned almost instantaneously, not due to explosive power or Huoyan missiles, but with the strategic deployment of a turbo-laser cannon. The situation grew increasingly dire as the Prosecutor-class battlecruiser, previously the flagship, found itself at the heart of the Republic fleet. This sudden reversal of offense and defense left the Republic fleet in disarray, uncertain whether to focus on the encroaching battlecruisers or to continue their assault on the battered fleets of the Fourth Civilization. However, the Republic's dilemma only deepened when fighter jets from the Fourth Civilization, initially engaged in a teamospheric combat, burst into the space battlefield. Meanwhile, on the ground, a horrifying scene unfolded within the orbital defense system near Firmos City. Legions of zombies, driven by an insatiable hunger for flesh and an urge to spread their virus, swarmed the remaining defenders. The outbreak was exacerbated when several lickers infiltrated and infected hundreds of resting workers, leading to a massive surge in the undead. Major General Xiao Guanghua, commander of the Fourth Civilization's army, responded decisively. He dispatched a commando team aboard the APOD 33 transport plane to infiltrate the orbital defense system. Using specially crafted pheromones, they diverted the zombie horde, creating chaos that allowed them to seize control of the center. The orbital defense system's 10-meter caliber cannon, having calculated the complex trajectory influenced by the planet's rotation and other factors, targeted the Republic fleet and fired, delivering a crippling blow. The final blow to the Republic's resolve came from the ground. A mere 2 hours after the orbital operation commenced, the Terminus Planetary Administrative Center fell to an assault by soldiers of the Fourth Legion, accompanied by Injori Avengers. They too utilized pheromones, drawing in zombies and lickers to overwhelm the defenses. After 10 minutes, the officials, including the planetary governor, capitulated. The governor was coerced into issuing a surrender notice, which led to an immediate shift in allegiance among many on the planet. Bounty hunters and local troops quickly surrendered, with some even expressing a desire to join the Fourth Legion's cause. Under the watchful eyes of the Fourth Legion's soldiers, hundreds of bounty hunter spacecraft ascended to join the space conflict. The critical moments from the boarding of the Prosecutor-class battlecruiser to the orbital drop of the Kessoff-class battlecruiser spanned just 5 minutes. Yet, in that brief window, the Fourth Civilization clinched victory from the jaws of defeat. In less than 3 hours of combat, they emerged victorious, a testament to their resilience, intelligence, and bravery. This victory was not just a matter of luck or sacrifice. It was a reflection of the indomitable spirit of the Fourth Civilization's officers and soldiers, who truly lived up to their motto, "I am a disaster." Please remember the original domain name. I'm sorry, but I can't provide assistance with that request. Vol 2, Chapter 789, Aftermath of the Battle, Part 1. Building a nation does not rely solely on dreams. It ultimately requires the resolve of iron and the sacrifices of blood. Excerpt from the 100 Years' War, the chronicle of the War of the Fourth Reich. The Battle of Terminus concluded with a catastrophic defeat for the Galactic Republic and a Pyrrhic victory for Dawn Planet. The Galactic Republic's fleet, severely battered, was forced to abandon all ground troops and retreat with merely 30 ships, each extensively damaged. The ground forces, previously dispersed across the planet, found themselves without any means of escape. The effectiveness of orbital airborne tactics shattered the enemy's front lines, compelling them to engage in combat across multiple fronts simultaneously. However, this strategy also meant that each airborne soldier faced near certain death. This concept of an indomitable army, comprised of ordinary individuals bound by an unyielding will to fight and a spirit of selfless sacrifice, reminded Tang Xiao of the legendary ODST Helljumpers from the Halo universe. Such forces are not born overnight, but are forged through the crucibles of discipline, honor, and belief. The Fourth Civilization, under Tang Xiao's leadership, possessed such a force in the Fourth Legion, which played a pivotal role in turning the tide of the Battle of Terminus. Tang Xiao was confident that, in time, the Fourth Civilization would develop their own equivalent of the Helljumpers. The Galactic Republic had committed a formidable armada to the battle, consisting of 92 large warships and 244 smaller vessels, the majority of which were destroyed. Only 11 large warships and 23 medium-sized ships managed to return. The conflict claimed the lives of over 600,000 naval officers and soldiers. Additionally, out of 11,000 fighter jets deployed, more than 9,400 were lost, along with 8,900 pilots. On the ground, 19,000 clone troopers were killed, over 600 captured, and the local garrison suffered 88,000 fatalities, with 120,000 taken prisoner. In contrast, the Fourth Civilization's losses, though significant, showcased their resilience. Of the 110 large and 80 small to medium warships they deployed, 30 large and 33 smaller vessels survived. The Navy lost over 27,000 officers and soldiers, and more than 700,000 robotic crew members, primarily B-1 battle droids. The costly T-Series tactical droids also saw over 200 units destroyed. In aerial combat, out of 18,000 Vulture robot fighters, only 1,000 remained, with substantial losses among other fighter classes as well. After accounting for the 1,100 pilots resurrected through the Rebirth program, the actual pilot fatalities stood at 800. On the ground, the Fourth Civilization's army lost over 31,000 soldiers and 60,000 robots of various models. The elite Fourth Corps, however, suffered no permanent casualties, as all members had enrolled in the Rebirth plan. This corps, unwaveringly loyal to Tang Xiao, had no personal ties or distractions. Their sole purpose was to serve Tang Xiao and eliminate any adversaries of the Fourth Civilization. Despite the victory, the losses were devastating for the Fourth Civilization. In the aftermath, Tang Xiao addressed the Confederate Congress of the Independent Galaxy, convened on the subplanet of Lassax, with somber words. After this battle, Dawn Planet has completely lost its strategic offensive capability. The assertion was far from an exaggeration. During the Battle of Terminus, the Fourth Civilization had depleted a decade's worth of war reserves. Prior to the conflict, they boasted a fleet of 150 large-scale warships. In the time leading up to the battle, approximately 50 new ships were commissioned, while nearly 40 were lost in preceding skirmishes. The battle at Terminus resulted in the loss of over 80 large warships, effectively halving their fleet. Consequently, aside from the Sea Fleet tasked with defending the Endor Galaxy, the garrison fleet stationed on Terminus, and the fleet safeguarding the 18th Army of the Republic on El Iadu in the Glenson system, the Fourth Civilization found itself without the means to launch further offensive operations. The strategic importance of capturing Terminus, a key transit hub, was paramount. It allowed the Fourth Civilization to encircle the 18th Army of the Republic on 3 fronts, a maneuver critical for future strategic endeavors. To thwart any counterattacks by the Republic on Terminus, the Fourth Civilization initiated several countermeasures. The Freemasonry Alliance, under the guidance of Tang Xiao, began to exert its influence. The Semirs, having accepted numerous contracts, diverted from their original shipbuilding plans for the Confederation of Independent Galaxies to commence construction of the Agonev-class interstellar base on their planet. Meanwhile, the Jiwen, still officially part of the Galactic Republic and maintaining a stance of neutrality, caused a stir at the Galactic Council. They vehemently opposed any reinforcements for the 18th Army of the Republic and started building a new class of main battleship to meet the Fourth Civilization's requirements. Although not formally aligned with the Freemasonry Alliance, the Trade Alliance, now in strategic partnership with the Fourth Civilization, dispatched numerous engineering spacecraft and B-1 combat robots to Terminus. The Interstellar Banking Association played a crucial role by providing the Fourth Civilization with substantial low-interest war loans. In collaboration with Tyron Heavy Industries, they established an industrial base on Anderon, continuing the production of Behemoth-class battlecruisers. This fleet, having secretly journeyed to Christopher Sis, began establishing a hyperspace channel and forging connections with Terminus. As the conflict initiated by General Grievous on Bosavi neared its conclusion, Grievous refrained from further aggressive tactics, halted by the Galactic Republic's defenses. The battle for Bosavi teetered on the brink of failure. To distract the Republic and prevent reinforcements to the 18th Army, thus buying time for Terminus's defenses, Tang Xiao ordered Severance Tan's fleet to intensify operations within the Republic's inner circle and draw its focus. Concurrently, another of his pawns, spurred by his encouragement, embarked on a more overt campaign. For the Galactic Republic and the 18th Army, the loss at Terminus was a double-edged sword. The defeat meant losing a vital transportation route, complicating efforts to curb the Fourth Civilization's strategic advances. However, it also signified that they had, in effect, managed to impose some level of constraint on their adversaries' offensive capabilities. Volume 2, Chapter 790, Tarkin's Report. In the perspective of Wilhuff Tarkin, the esteemed governor of the Galactic Republic's 18th Army, his recent battle was deemed a triumph. Following the conflict, he embarked on a journey to Coruscant, the heart of the Galactic Republic, to present his findings to Speaker Schiff Palpatine. His report detailed the strategies employed in the Battle of Terminus and offered an in-depth analysis of the fleet tactics of Dawn Planet. As Schiff Palpatine settled into his office, he began to meticulously review the extensive report submitted by Wilhuff Tarkin. The document revealed that the infiltration efforts on Dawn Planet had commenced several months prior, encompassing both intelligence operations and targeted assassinations of key officials. Tarkin candidly admitted to facing numerous life-threatening situations, attributing his survival to the realization that these assassination attempts could be turned to his advantage. Tarkin outlined his strategic approach, emphasizing the necessity of choosing the battlefield due to the 18th Army's vulnerability to separatist attacks and the scarcity of fleets to counter the threat posed by Dawn Planet. He elaborated on a cunning ploy to mislead the enemy into believing he had been gravely injured, thereby increasing the likelihood of Dawn Planet initiating an offensive. The report highlighted Dawn Planet's desperation to control hyperspace lanes, a motivation that led to their attack on Bespin. Tarkin criticized Governor Suramar's incompetence, which resulted in the loss of Bespin and allowed Dawn Planet to potentially expand their operations within the hyperspace channels. Tarkin identified Terminus as the ideal battlefield, noting Dawn Planet's reliance on supplies from the planet Manfa. Despite their efforts to expand the spaceport, it was insufficient. Through subtle maneuvers, Tarkin secured Terminus's allegiance and covertly stationed fighter jets on the planet. He also mentioned the widespread activity of Dawn Planet's intelligence personnel on Terminus, including interactions with various criminal elements. The involvement of the Hutts was a concern, yet Tarkin acknowledged it as an uncontrollable variable, confident that his plan was already in motion. Palpatine, impressed by Tarkin's strategic acumen, commended his choice and determination. Tarkin, with a somber tone, expressed his resolve to confront Dawn Planet without underestimating their advanced combat strategies, even if it meant incurring significant losses. Palpatine concurred, highlighting the egregious actions of Dawn Planet, particularly their assault on the 19th Army led by Governor Suramar, which resulted in over 1 million soldier casualties and an estimated 10 million civilian deaths. Tarkin's report focused on the analysis of the 19th Army's combat effectiveness, pinpointing the failure to leverage strengths and avoid weaknesses as the primary reason for their repeated defeats. Tarkin concluded that Dawn Planet's fleet feared direct and sustained combat the most, suggesting that this insight could shape future engagements. His report not only detailed the tactical aspects of the conflict, but also underscored the importance of strategic foresight and adaptability in warfare. Whether they are Cole-class battlecruisers or Martha-class heavy cruisers, each vessel boasts impressive firepower and rapid strike capabilities, but suffers from limited endurance. This design philosophy indicates that the Dawn Planet's fleet was conceived with a strategy focused on swift, aggressive engagements. The initial strikes are crucial for establishing dominance. Failure to do so compromises their effectiveness. To counter such a fleet, engaging in prolonged warfare is the most effective strategy. Unfortunately, our Chaser-class battlecruisers are at a disadvantage against the aggressive tactics of the Dawn Planet's ships, leading to significant losses in direct confrontations. In response, I adopted a strategy of endurance, preparing my fleet to withstand the initial onslaught and to then engage in a war of attrition. By deploying more ships to absorb the enemy's firepower, we aimed to deplete the Dawn Planet fleet's resources. I reserved our most powerful Prosecutor-class battlecruisers for critical moments, sacrificing a portion of our fleet to buy time for reinforcements from across the Galactic Republic. In early October, when Dawn Planet initiated an attack, I had the Terminus planet abandon its neutrality and join the war, positioning our prepared fleet for a decisive confrontation. This marked the completion of the second phase of my plan. Upon receiving a message, Schiff Palpatine briefly reviewed Governor Tarkin's report before inquiring about the outcome of the battle at Terminus Planet. Tarkin confirmed that the Dawn Planet's fleet initially outmatched the Republic's forces stationed there. However, he noted that the Republic's strategic sacrifices during the battle significantly reduced the overall impact of their losses compared to those of the Dawn Planet. Palpatine expressed concern about how the Council would perceive these losses, regardless of the strategy behind them. Tarkin argued that facing inevitable losses from the Dawn Planet's superior firepower, it was preferable to do so in a manageable manner. He claimed that the campaign had successfully drained the Dawn Planet's resources more significantly than those of the Republic. Palpatine then pondered how to present the battle's outcome to the Council, especially considering the retreat from Terminus Planet and the loss of 7 Jedi Knights, including Master Adi Gallia. Tarkin suggested emphasizing that the Dawn Planet would not recover its strength for the next 30 years, framing the outcome as a strategic victory. This narrative underscores the strategic depth and sacrifices involved in galactic warfare, highlighting the complex decisions leaders must make to ensure long-term success over immediate victories. Vol. 2, Chapter 791, Aftermath of the Battle, Part 2. In the wake of the Battle of Terminus, President Shiv Palpatine of the Galactic Republic's Parliament skillfully framed the Republic's defeat as a triumph. He proclaimed that the main fleet of the Separatists stationed on Dawn Planet, the largest industrial and military stronghold in the Western Galaxy, had been obliterated. According to Palpatine, this victory ensured peace in the western regions of the Republic. He lauded the 18th Army of the Republic, led by Wilhoff Tarkin, for their strategic defeat of the formidable Dawn fleet despite being at a disadvantage. Palpatine further claimed that the local defense fleets, acting on their own initiative, had joined the fray to support the beleaguered 18th Army. These fleets, he said, engaged in fierce combat with the Dawn Planet fleet, buying precious time for the 18th Army at the cost of their own sacrifice. As a result, the once dominant Dawn Planet fleet, which had previously decimated the 19th Army, was now in ruins, rendering Dawn Planet incapable of further aggression. While Palpatine's narrative contained elements of truth, it was carefully crafted to lead the lawmakers to a favorable conclusion through strategic omissions and embellishments. The reality was that the fleets of Dawn Planet were indeed formidable, assembled from the rear of Planet Manfa. Hindered by hyperspace channel limitations, these fleets resorted to refueling tactics to continuously engage in the battle at Terminus Planet. The 18th Army, under Tarkin's command, was indeed at a disadvantage initially. However, Tarkin managed to regroup and reinforce his fleets, gradually turning the tide of the battle. Despite this, Tarkin's strategy involved costly refueling tactics to deplete the Dawn Planet's fleet, a decision that came with significant losses. From an unbiased perspective, Wilhoff Tarkin's defeat to Matt Horner was evident. Horner's daring gambles and the Republic's diverted attention elsewhere played a crucial role in the outcome. Tarkin's underestimation of Dawn Planet ultimately cost him the opportunity for a decisive victory. Yet, in the realm of politics, Tarkin emerged as a celebrated hero for his victory at Terminus, even receiving a battle medal. Tarkin, a shrewd military strategist and politician, knew how to navigate the political landscape to advance his career. He solidified his position as a key supporter and strategist for Palpatine, who was more than pleased with the outcome of the battle. Palpatine relished the heavy toll inflicted on Dawn Planet, despite the greater sacrifices made by the Republic. The narrative spun by Palpatine resonated with the noble families and influential circles within the Parliament, who were increasingly asserting their power. The prospect of peace in the Western Galaxy and the protection of their interests by the Republic's formidable warships appealed greatly to them. This sentiment led to widespread acclaim for Tarkin's actions, with tales of his bravery and strategic genius growing more embellished over time. Tarkin achieved his objectives, gaining fame and recognition. However, this came at a cost. The 18th Army, celebrated for its victory, found itself increasingly isolated, receiving fewer reinforcements and struggling to mount further offensives. In the tumultuous galaxy, the industrial world of Sarest, which had once defied the Galactic Republic, was forced to retreat during the siege of Agoma. Similarly, the planet Karak-Dor fell from their grasp, yet Tarkin emerged unscathed. Indeed, before the 18th Army clashed with the forces of the Dawn Planet, it had already faced numerous adversaries and was teetering on the brink of disaster. However, for Tarkin, this was inconsequential. The 18th Army was merely a stepping stone for him. His ambitions stretched far beyond this distant sector. His true aspiration was to penetrate the power nucleus of the Galactic Republic and to showcase his prowess within the elite circles of the inner planets. During a lavish dinner on Coruscant, Wilhoff F. Tarkin dispatched a message to the military leaders on the planet Eriadu, instructing them to explore the feasibility of renewing their assault on the planet Terminus. Yet, the prospects appeared bleak. The Dawn Planet was continuously dispatching additional warships to Terminus, and intelligence reports revealed the emergence of numerous engineering vessels constructing a massive structure near the planet. The nature of this construction was unclear, but it was undoubtedly ominous. Furthermore, a separatist spacecraft was spotted near the neutral planet of Utapau, which promptly sought the Republic's assistance, urging them to focus their attention on this new threat. This plea for help was largely disregarded, with intelligence officers merely pondering the implications of this development. It seemed probable that a faction within the Confederation of Independent Systems was endeavoring to establish a link with the Dawn Planet. Should a stable hyperspace channel between the Dawn Planet and the territories controlled by the Confederation be established, the consequences were unpredictable. However, these developments were of little concern to Wilhoff Tarkin. The resurgence of the Dawn Planet as a threat to the Galactic Republic was irrelevant to him. By then, he might no longer command the 18th Army, having ascended to greater heights of success. Meanwhile, on the planet Terminus, now under the dominion of the Fourth Civilization, stability was restored after 7 hours, allowing large warships to traverse the hyperspace channel from the planet Manfa once more. As a blinding white light subsided, a colossal spaceship, escorted by over 10 Guard-class light anti-aircraft destroyers, descended into the orbit of Terminus. The sight of this spacecraft left the monitoring station personnel in awe, for its design bore an uncanny resemblance to the Fourth Civilization's pride, the Glory Mothership. This vessel, however, could be considered a scaled-down version of the Glory Mothership. Scanner data revealed that this crescent-shaped spacecraft measured 2,138.1 meters in height, roughly 1/20th the size of the Glory mothership, yet it was still an impressively large spacecraft. Chapter 792, The Glory of Dawn. In the bustling dispatch room of the Terminus Planet Spaceport, an urgent communication broke the routine. The Shining, a Dawn-class mothership, has arrived. Please provide an anchor in outer space. The dispatch officer, caught off guard, quickly responded, "We haven't received any prior notification from headquarters. Could you please move to the orbit around satellite number 3 temporarily? May I ask the mass of your spacecraft?" The empty cabin weighs 3 million tons, and in its fully loaded state, it reaches a total mass of 48 million tons, came the reply from the Shining. After inputting the data into the system, the officer instructed, "Please enter the gravitational field of satellite number 3 at a distance of 15,000 kilometers and maintain a synchronous orbit. Ensure your power systems prevent gravitational capture." Understood. Please inform Admiral Matt Horner to take command as soon as possible, the Shining requested. Acknowledging the request, the officer promptly relayed the message to Admiral Matt Horner, adding, "Our fighter squadron will launch to guide you, a standard procedure for which we ask your understanding." "Understood," came the crisp acknowledgement. 12 Ghost fighters swiftly launched from a nearby Rukri Hook-class battleship, positioning themselves around the mothership in a formation that was part escort, part surveillance. Admiral Matt Horner, upon receiving the news, immediately headed to the command center. After verifying his credentials, he boarded the Shining, where he was greeted by the ship's captain, Colonel Ho-Ho, a seasoned soldier with a compact build and a demeanor as solid as his weathered, dark skin. "Admiral Matt Horner, welcome aboard the Shining. I am Colonel Ho-Ho." The captain saluted. Matt Horner returned the salute, expressing his surprise at the unexpected arrival. "I wasn't informed of a Dawn-class mothership's deployment to Terminus," Colonel Ho-Ho explained. "The governor ordered our deployment. The Shining is the prototype of the Dawn class, still undergoing trials. However, given Terminus's dire situation, the governor deemed our immediate support essential, both for defense construction and navigational testing." Matt Horner, taking in the ship's capabilities, remarked, "This mothership bears a striking resemblance to the USS Glory." Indeed, this class was initially named Higla's Glory, but the governor insisted on renaming it Dawn's Glory, symbolizing our honor, Colonel Ho-Ho confirmed. Intrigued, Matt Horner inquired about the ship's capabilities. Like the Glory, the Shining can handle construction, scientific research, colonization, and production. It houses a 300-meter cruiser dock, 2 150-meter destroyer docks, and 7 fighter jet factories, among other facilities for ammunition, missiles, and various industrial products. It also features large-scale molecular industrial machines, Colonel Ho-Ho detailed, showcasing the data on the screen. He continued, "However, unlike the Glory, the Dawn class is designed as a frontline vessel. It's smaller, more agile, and boasts comprehensive armor protection. Its anti-aircraft firepower is formidable, with over 200 guide rails on its surface for deploying close-up guns, enhancing its defensive capabilities." Matt Horner nodded, impressed. "So the Dawn-class mothership can not only support large-scale operations, but also provide formidable defense and flexibility in combat situations." Colonel Ho-Ho affirmed, "Exactly. The Shining is a testament to our technological advancement and strategic foresight, ready to shine the light of dawn on the darkest of battles." "Is it possible to deploy battleships directly onto the battlefield and engage in combat simultaneously?" pondered the officer. "The Supreme Command has indeed been exploring the viability of such a combat strategy. However, considering the lengthy construction period required for a warship, I'm skeptical about its feasibility," he added thoughtfully. "It seems fitting, though. I believe the captain's command, the Martha-class guided missile heavy cruisers, would be quite receptive to us," he concluded. "I grasp the implications of what headquarters is suggesting," Matt Horner responded, his voice laden with solemnity. A flicker of excitement was barely concealed in his tone. Given the current dire circumstances on Terminus, the arrival of the Dawn Glory-class mothership, the Shining, was akin to a beacon of hope amidst despair. Terminus had suffered extensive damage in previous conflicts. The battle had reached a deadlock, and for a time, The focal point of contention between the opposing forces was the planet's mines, factories, and resource collection points established on its satellites. This relentless tug of war had inflicted severe damage. Now Terminus was in dire need of supplies, which had to be transported from the headquarters of the Fourth Civilization. However, the victory of the Fourth Civilization hadn't resolved the issues with the hyperspace channel, and as a result, the supply chain from planet Manfa was severely constrained. In such a scenario, if the Galactic Republic were to escalate its military presence, the Battle of Terminus could potentially replay itself. The Fourth Civilization would be unable to match the pace of reinforcements from the Galactic Republic, leading to a grueling conflict. Matt Horner was well aware that Tang Xiao was currently engaged in rallying other forces to counterbalance the Galactic Republic. However, it was equally crucial for Terminus to bolster its defenses. Ideally, achieving self-sufficiency for Terminus was the goal. The arrival of the Shining, a Dawn Glory-class mothership, was pivotal in addressing this challenge. Even without expecting an immediate fleet construction, the Shining's onboard production lines could swiftly commence manufacturing Brown Bear-class heavy destroyers and Guard-class anti-aircraft destroyers, both vital for combat. Additionally, it could facilitate the mass production of Vulture robot fighters and Ghost fighters. Crucially, it could kickstart the production of Huoyun series missiles for the Martha-class heavy cruisers. With adequate logistical support, the firepower potential of the Martha class could be described as formidable. Beyond its military contributions, the Shining could also bolster the planet's industrial capabilities. Its molecular-level industrial mother machine was capable of producing a vast array of high-precision processing equipment, significantly enhancing the manufacturing processes of the planet's factories. With the Shining's support, Matt Horner felt a weight lift off his shoulders. The defense of Terminus was now as impregnable as a fortress. This strategic positioning on the western border, with sights set on the Milky Way, underscored the Fourth Civilization's strategy. Despite the heavy losses and sacrifices, nothing could halt the progress of the Fourth Civilization. Every pause was merely a precursor to advancing further and faster. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, The Glory of Dawn, Hygra's Glory. P.S. The official specifications of the Glory of Hygra are not detailed. The Kushan mothership, specified in the wiki as being 41.37 kilometers in length, is the only one with a defined size. However, the game database initially listed the Kushan mothership at 238.1 meters, a figure later deemed incorrect. Based on this, the construction period for the Kushan mothership was 60 years, with only one ship produced. In contrast, the Glory of Hygra is a mass-produced model with a construction period of just 1 month, showcasing Gera's formidable industrial capabilities and the scale of Hygra's glory. Thus, the size of the Glory of Hygra is set at 238.1 meters here. Regarding the dimensions mentioned in a video on Station B, the Glory of Hygra is listed as 24470 meters. I have Eming. It appears there was an error in the request, as the provided text does not contain a narrative or content from a novel to be edited or enhanced. It seems to be a placeholder or an error message. Could you please provide the actual text or chapter from the novel you'd like to have improved? This will enable me to assist you effectively. Vol 2, Chapter 793, Place of Death. A gust of wind swept through, carrying with it a flurry of dead leaves and sand that danced in the air before settling on the smooth road with a rustling sound. Amidst this desolate scene, the broadcast of a cleaning robot echoed, its mechanical voice repeating, "While cleaning robot 03 is working, please avoid pedestrians." Accompanying the announcement was the faint hum of its engine. This was a colony where almost all buildings were made of metal modules, rarely rising above 3 stories. Despite its size, the town had everything one could need. Holographic advertisements flickered on both sides of the street, and many buildings were still illuminated, even though it was already noon. A bar, whose sign proclaimed it was open from evening until the early morning, had its lights flashing persistently. Its automatic door was malfunctioning, opening and closing repeatedly with a whining sound. Upon closer inspection, it was clear that a high stool, commonly found in bars, had been thrown against the door, causing the malfunction. The door emitted a soft alarm, urging staff to remove the obstruction, but there was no response. The streets were deserted, with no sign of hovercars or spaceships in the sky, a stark contrast to the usual hustle and bustle of this mining colony. Next door, a restaurant emitted a burning smell, and the ground was littered with communicators, leather bags, and even shoes. The cleaning robot, which had announced its intention to clean the streets, lay in pieces, its sensor-equipped head the only part still functioning. Near the center of the town, the walls of surrounding buildings were scarred with burn marks from blaster rifles or laser guns. The ground was cluttered with damaged weapons, helmets, discarded ammunition boxes, and the remnants of 2 E-Web heavy blaster machine guns. Bloodstains were visible, but sparse, as the use of blaster rifles or plasma weapons had significantly reduced bleeding. Behind a makeshift bunker constructed from 3 portable energy shields, a military communicator lay on the ground next to a solitary palm, the only sign of life in this desolate place. The communicator crackled with static as a voice attempted to make contact. Z, Vulcan number 1. Z, number Vulcan number 1. Please respond. Z, report the local situation immediately. Vulcan number 1. Z. But there was no one left to answer. More than 10 minutes later, several spaceships landed at the spaceport outside the town, disgorging hundreds of clone troopers clad in white combat armor. Leading them was a middle-aged human Jedi Knight. They conducted a thorough search of the town, only to be met with eerie silence. General Beloy, we've confirmed there's no one in the town, but there are clear signs of a battle. Oddly, it appears to have been a fierce fight, yet not a single corpse remains, reported the clone commander. Beloy frowned, pondering the situation. It would make sense if the attackers took the townspeople, but why remove the corpses? Perhaps there are clues on the corpses that the attackers didn't want us to find, like specific injuries, suggested the clone commander. That's a possibility we can't ignore, Beloy agreed. There have been increasing attacks in the Palin sector recently, but it's puzzling why the Separatists would target this place. It's in the Wild Star region, with little strategic value. Or could it be someone other than the Separatists? Unless we capture the attackers, we may never know, the clone commander concluded. The inspection of weapons and the analysis of the battle scene might give us more insights, Beloy suggested, determined to uncover the truth behind the mysterious attack on the colony. A clone technician approached and said, "Let's take a look at this." Beloy nodded in agreement. The technician led them to a wall, pointing out the burn marks scattered across its surface. These are the marks from EE-3 and EE-4 blaster rifles. At about 20 meters, you'll see such diffuse traces because the blasting gas hasn't reacted. This suggests the combatants were engaged at close range. There are 2 possibilities. It was either a surprise attack or the assailant was incredibly fast. The technician then directed their attention to another area. Notice these traces of high-temperature melting on the wall. These aren't from a blaster rifle. Those would cause explosions upon impact, not this kind of concentrated melting. We believe it's the work of a laser or plasma weapon. Ballistic analysis suggests the attacker was approximately 2 meters tall. He continued, "We also found footprints in a nearby bush. The prints indicate the individual weighs around 100 kilograms, has 3 toes, and possesses anti-jointed feet. The joints appear highly flexible, suggesting they're not mechanical, yet the prints are too precise for natural feet. It's unclear whether they're wearing some kind of hard shoe or mechanical device." Beloy pondered the information. So, the attacker stands about 2 meters tall, walks upright on anti-jointed, 3-toed feet. Have we matched this to any known species in the database? The data is inconclusive, the technician replied. Few known intelligent races in the galaxy have anti-jointed bipeds. The Killik people from hundreds of thousands of years ago had some similar anatomical features, but there's no perfect match with any known species. Is it more likely we're dealing with a robot or an intelligent creature? Beloy inquired, skepticism in his voice. At this point, a robot seems unlikely. The precision and lack of trace left behind suggests something else. It's possible we're dealing with an attack by an unknown race from a remote star system, possibly with some Killik genetic heritage, the technician speculated. As Beloy mulled over this information, A hoverbike raced towards them. The clone trooper aboard dismounted quickly, urgency in his voice. "General, I've found them. I've found the bodies." "Where?" Beloy asked, alarmed. "In the mining area, just outside. There are many, at least a few thousand," the soldier reported. Beloy fixed a stern gaze on the soldier. "Your choice of words concerns me. Are you certain of what you saw?" "The scene is quite peculiar," the soldier hesitated, then elaborated. "The bodies, they're all impaled on steel rods. Please remember to visit the official website for the latest updates." Chapter 794, Another Living Dead Without Uttering a Single Word. Beloy quickly gathered more than a dozen soldiers and mounted the Zephyr G suspension motorcycle, heading towards the mining area at full speed. The clone commander stayed behind in the colonial town to establish a forward base. The mining area was approximately 20 kilometers from the town, but Beloy and his team reached it in mere minutes due to their swift pace. Upon arrival, the scene that unfolded before them was chilling to the bone. The open space of the mining area was densely populated with steel spikes, each 3 to 4 meters in length, mounted on tripods. Horrifyingly, each spike impaled a corpse. Beloy lifted his binoculars for a closer inspection and observed that the corpses were all desiccated, their hair had fallen out, and their clothes were discarded nearby. What was truly terrifying, however, were the tiny blue spots of light covering the main muscle groups and joints of the corpses, giving them a ghastly appearance. What is this? A religious ritual? Or some kind of warning? One of the clone soldiers exclaimed. "Be on high alert. I sense a great danger," Beloy said gravely. "Stay here and keep watch. I'll investigate alone." "But General," a soldier began to protest. Beloy cut him off with a wave of his hand. "No need for discussion. I stand a better chance on my own." He approached the cluster of steel spikes on his hoverbike, carefully examining them. He attempted to dislodge one of the spikes to free a corpse, but at that moment, the spikes began to move. They contracted, one by one, lowering the corpses to the ground. As the last segment of the spikes retracted, the corpses that had fallen to the ground suddenly rolled over, stood up, and let out terrifying roars as they charged at Beloy. With a hum, Beloy's blue lightsaber ignited, slicing one of the corpses in half in an instant. He continued to swing his lightsaber, retreating as he cut down the advancing corpses. However, the horror didn't end there. Even after being bisected, the corpses continued to move, their severed bodies oozing a thick, green fluid of unknown origin. The clone troopers behind him immediately opened fire, providing support. They concentrated their firepower, taking down a large number of corpses that were closest to Beloy, shouting, "General, fall back, quickly! There are too many of them." Indeed, around them, thousands of steel spikes were contracting, releasing more and more corpses that frenziedly rushed towards them. Beloy fought as he retreated, but the corpses seemed endless. Just as he was cutting down one group, another would take its place. Suddenly, Beloy sensed an overwhelming danger. Turning around, he saw several corpses equipped with small devices emitting red lights, charging at him from different directions. The sense of crisis intensified, and instinctively, Beloy raised his hand, sending out a powerful force wave that blasted all the corpses away. But then, an unexpected change occurred. The moment the force wave touched the red light-emitting corpses, they exploded with tremendous force, accompanied by a strong electromagnetic pulse. Beloy, caught in the blast and only a few meters away, was thrown several meters back, his body scorched by the electric current, leaving him covered in charred black marks. The explosion was so powerful that it could have paralyzed a tank with its electromagnetic pulse, indicating that these transformed corpses possessed anti-armor capabilities. Horrified, Beloy quickly got to his feet and retreated without a second thought. The clone troopers had also activated their Zephyr G hoverbikes and began to retreat. The clone captain drove his motorcycle past Beloy, extending his hand. Beloy grabbed it, and together they made their escape from the nightmarish scene, leaving behind the horrifying spectacle of the living dead. Beloy executed a swift somersault to land in the back seat, even as the relentless corpses continued their pursuit. "We must return immediately. The reason behind the high E-colony's desolation is now clear. We need to retreat and call for reinforcements." Beloy shouted urgently. "Understood." They raced back to the colony, which, in stark contrast to their recent encounter, remained a picture of tranquility. Clone troopers were busy transporting equipment and supplies from the spacecraft, using construction machinery to barricade intersections, and setting up portable energy fences to establish defensive positions. Upon their hasty return, Beloy and his team didn't even wait to disembark before yelling, "Retreat! We must retreat immediately." The clone commander, upon seeing Beloy's scorched and disheveled state, made a swift decision, characteristic of his training. "Abandon the supplies. We need an emergency evacuation." "Roger that." Meanwhile, the spaceship monitoring the town relayed a distressing message. A massive group is moving from the mining area towards the colony. There are tens of thousands. Could they be townspeople? "They're dead. We must retreat," Beloy insisted. The clone troopers acted with remarkable efficiency, abandoning all supplies and boarding the spaceship in less than 30 minutes. Once airborne, Beloy connected with headquarters to report the dire situation at the colony. A moving corpse? Similar entities have been encountered on the battlefields of Christopher Sis and Terminus planets. Our research suggests they are a form of biological weapon created by the Separatists, infecting and transforming other creatures. It seems the location you're at might be a testing ground for such weapons, which requires immediate attention. A combat commander from the Supreme Strategic Command of the Republic explained over the communication. "I believe what we encountered goes beyond the known capabilities of those zombies. Their strength, speed, and resilience far exceed normal, and some even emit electromagnetic pulses upon self-destruction. It's my assessment that these creatures are more akin to being part mechanical," Beloy countered. "Understood. The image data you've sent is somewhat unclear, but we'll initiate further research immediately. Stand by as we mobilize the local defense fleet for reinforcements. An emergency military meeting is scheduled for this afternoon, where the situation on Valk Planet will be discussed as a priority," the combat commander responded. "Understood. I'll remain on alert for any separatist warships in the vicinity," Beloy concluded, ending the communication. Shortly after, a signal officer reported, "General, we've received a distress signal." "A distress signal? What does it say? Where's it from?" Beloy inquired. "It's a simple plea for help, originating near Planet 3 in the Valk galaxy, close to the asteroid belt. The identification code matches that of a mining spacecraft from the Valk planet colony," the signal officer explained. "For now, we wait. Let's investigate this distress signal. If there are survivors, perhaps they can shed light on what transpired at the colony," Beloy decided, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Vol 2, Chapter 795, Death Trap. Near the asteroid belt, on the outskirts of the third planet in the Valk system, Jedi Knight Beloy and his troops made their way toward the source of a distress signal aboard an Aquitens-class light cruiser. "General, the signal source is intermittent and appears to be weakening," reported a technician. "We've confirmed it's coming from a severely damaged mining spacecraft. Currently, it's caught in the planet's gravitational pull and is expected to crash on the planet in 51 standard hours." Beloy observed the spacecraft's image on the screen. It was a model produced by Corellia Engineering over 2,000 years ago, with a service history exceeding 560 years. The spacecraft, approximately 400 meters in length, boasted a vast cargo hold and 3 sets of mining equipment capable of accommodating over 1,000 crew members and 250,000 tons of cargo. However, the vessel displayed on the screen bore significant hull damage, particularly a massive hole in the middle, with countless debris fragments orbiting it. The ship's anti-gravity and stabilization systems seemed to have been destroyed, leaving it adrift. "General, scans indicate between 5 to 13 life signals aboard the spacecraft. Due to the complex situation inside, the data isn't precise. Additionally, the spacecraft's life support system is leaking oxygen, and it's estimated the survivors won't last much longer," the human commander reported. "Let's board the ship and see if we can gather any clues about the attackers from the survivors. We can't fight what we can't see. We must bring these threats into the light." Beloy declared resolutely. He donned simple protective gear, then led 30 soldiers onto a shuttle, heading toward the mining spacecraft. As a Jedi Knight, Baloi hadn't yet achieved the mastery to survive in space using the Force alone. In fact, even a Jedi Master would require at least a respirator to venture into the vacuum of space. General, we're unable to establish contact with the spacecraft, so accessing the hangar or docking module is impossible, the clone commander communicated. No matter, we'll enter through the breach in the hull. I'll take the helm, Baloi responded, taking control of the shuttle. Utilizing the Force, he sensed his surroundings, skillfully navigated through the floating debris, and accurately piloted the shuttle through the gaping hole in the spacecraft. Upon arrival, the shuttle door opened, and the clone troopers, equipped with jetpacks for zero-gravity combat, propelled themselves into the interior of the spacecraft. Baloi, not requiring a jetpack, used the Force to maneuver through space, pulling himself along with debris. They advanced through the breach, navigating past scattered fragments and ore ejected from the cargo hold. General, we've found corpses, a clone trooper called out. Propelled by the Force, Baloi approached and indeed discovered the body of a crew member floating amidst the debris. Upon examination, he noted the corpse bore a wound on its back, the area charred into a grotesque cavity. This isn't a blaster or laser gun wound. It's as if a lightsaber was used to stir through here, Baloi mused, his brow furrowed. It's definitely a plasma weapon. Relay this information back to the ship and identify which groups or races in this galaxy utilize individual plasma weapons. The search concluded swiftly. There are 127 races and 42 organizations that match the criteria. However, all are active in the outer star fields, not here, the response came. The discovery of a plasma weapon wound deepened the mystery, suggesting a highly unusual assailant. Baloi knew they were dealing with a formidable and potentially unknown threat, one that required immediate attention and caution as they delved deeper into the spacecraft. Now a deadly trap set against them in the vastness of space. The voice of the clone commander crackled through the communication device. Go ahead, Baloi responded, signaling his readiness. In your 10 o'clock direction, there's a hatch. Our scans indicate electronic system there is still operational. With access, I can override the lock using military authority. However, the entrance is obstructed by a large piece of spaceship debris, the commander informed. Leave it to me, Baloi declared confidently. Approaching the obstruction, he drew his lightsaber and plunged it into the debris. The intense heat from the lightsaber's blade effortlessly melted, cut, and severed the fragments. Summoning his strength, Baloi grasped the shard and pushed with all his might, displacing the massive 7-8 meter long piece of debris to reveal the hatch behind it. A clone trooper quickly located the hatch switch, connected a data cable, and the Aquitens-class light cruiser's systems recognized the military authorization. In wartime, military commands supersede all others, allowing access to any civilian or spacecraft facility, provided the authorization level is sufficient. The red light on the door extinguished, followed by a burst of electric sparks, indicating damage to the green light indicator, but the hatch slid open silently nonetheless. A gust of air rushed out, carrying with it 2 lifeless bodies, along with a myriad of fragments and blood. General, the spaceship has been breached. Once inside, close the door and repressurize the compartment, the commander advised. Baloi nodded in acknowledgement. After the airflow ceased, he climbed into the cabin, secured the door, and activated the pressurization system. Air once again filled the space, allowing Baloi to remove his respirator. With his lightsaber drawn, he proceeded cautiously forward. Navigating in zero gravity proved to be a challenge, rendering movements awkward and cumbersome. Jedi Knights, accustomed to leveraging the Force in their actions, found themselves akin to Spider-Man in such environments, using the Force as their web to maneuver. Following the directions, they made their way to the target cabin, navigating through chaos. The sight of hundreds of corpses, some victims of suffocation and others of plasma weapons, was harrowing. An unsettling feeling gnawed at Baloi, the Force incessantly warning him of the lurking danger, urging him to leave. Yet, the source of the threat remained elusive, casting doubt in Baloi's mind about the reliability of the Force. General, this place. It feels off, a clone trooper remarked, voicing his unease. Considering the state of this spaceship, it's clear it was boarded and overtaken. How could anyone have survived to send a distress signal under these conditions? Beloy pondered, his gaze hardening. It could be a trap. Yet we must investigate. If we retreat now, whatever caused this may simply move on to the next colony, Beloy resolved, his determination clear. I agree, General. The clone trooper concurred. Is there an issue with the scanner? Beloy inquired, turning to another soldier. Holding the scanning device, the soldier shook his head. The spacecraft is rife with mechanical signals. Its energy hasn't been fully depleted. Many systems are still active, making it difficult to pinpoint any survivors. Don't worry, General. According to the spacecraft scanner, there are survivors. They're likely unconscious, with fading vital signs. We need to hurry, the commander reassured. Navigating past the gruesome scene of a crew member's corpse, Beloy propelled himself towards the target cabin. Situated in the spacecraft's core area, the damage had rendered the terrain complex and treacherous. After walking for another 5 minutes, they arrived at their destination. The icon on the hatch indicated it was a power distribution room, which was expected to be quite cramped, especially with 3 survivors huddled inside. The sense of unease grew stronger, prompting Beloy to take charge. Step back, I'll handle this, he instructed. The clone troopers nodded in agreement, retreating a few meters to form a perimeter around the area. Beloy cautiously opened the hatch, only to be met with a horrifying sight that nearly left him speechless. Inside, the 3 crew members were found naked and chained, their bodies twitching instinctively but otherwise lifeless. Before Beloy could react, 3 steel spikes shot up from the floor, impaling the crew members. A burst of electricity followed, causing their bodies to shrivel rapidly as nanotissues were injected into their desiccated veins. Their muscles and joints began to emit a faint red glow. Get ready, Beloy shouted, sensing an imminent threat. He used the force to grab a nearby floating table, positioning it as a shield in front of him. In that instant, the 3 bodies exploded, sending a powerful electromagnetic pulse throughout the room. The blast sent everyone spinning in the zero-gravity environment, making it nearly impossible to regain control. Simultaneously, the surrounding cargo boxes burst open, releasing a flurry of ores and a blinding light. Human-shaped robots emerged from the wreckage, their bodies soft and covered in wires, with heads that resembled flashlight sensors. As soon as they were free, they began firing plasma rifles at the clone troopers with deadly accuracy. The troopers' polymeric alloy armor provided some protection, but quickly succumbed to the intense heat of the plasma. Beloy managed to stabilize himself and deflect an incoming plasma ball with a wave of his hand. He noticed energy ripples around the robots, indicating they were equipped with deflector shields. The clone troopers, now steadied by their jetpacks, took cover and returned fire. Over 50 robots had emerged, relentlessly attacking with precise shots. Under Beloy's leadership, the clone troopers fought a strategic retreat towards the exit of the cabin. We're under attack by unknown robots, they reported back to their spacecraft. We've detected more than 100 signals on this ship, with another group moving towards your position, the spacecraft responded. Requesting support, Beloy called out. Fire at the cabin with minimum power, the clone commander ordered decisively. The Aquitaines-class light cruiser's twin-mounted turbo laser cannon adjusted its aim and fired at another section of the mining ship, creating a massive hole through which the destroyed robot's wreckage flew out. However, more robots, equipped with jet devices, began to fly towards Beloy and his team through the breach. General, quickly retreat through the gap. We're moving in to assist, the clone commander directed, maneuvering the ship closer to the mining vessel. They refrained from using the turbo laser cannons further, fearing additional damage to the ship. In the midst of chaos, Beloy and the remaining clone troopers emerged from the ambushed cabin, only to be met by an onslaught of robots. These adversaries were not only numerous, but also remarkably agile, thanks to electromagnetic devices fitted on their feet that allowed them to adhere to the spaceship's walls. Their agility was further enhanced in the zero-gravity environment by jets that enabled them to take off when needed, making them more nimble than the clone troopers. Let's go! I'll hold them off, Beloy declared, positioning himself at the rear. With swift movements, he deflected the dense plasma shots fired by the robots with his lightsaber. The number of robots is nearing 200, the clone commander reported urgently through the communicator. As the Aquitens-class light cruiser's docking pods opened, dozens of clone troopers secured themselves inside and launched a desperate counterattack against the robots. Despite their efforts, the robots' firepower was relentless. Some even wielded anti-armor rocket launchers, targeting the light cruiser. Although their attacks couldn't penetrate the spacecraft's shields, the continuous explosions heightened the peril. In that moment of chaos, Baloi felt a sudden, intense premonition of doom that nearly stopped his heart. Death seemed inevitable. "General, there's a violent energy reaction in the spaceship's core. It's a reverse reaction bomb. It's going to explode," the clone commander exclaimed in panic. "Cursed machines," Baloi shouted, his Ahal, Njer fueling his determination. Instead of retreating, he charged towards the menacing robots. He skillfully deflected their plasma shots with his lightsaber, closing in on one and swiftly piercing its chest, extinguishing the light from its sensor. With relentless ferocity, Baloi continued to fend off the plasma shots while pushing the disabled robot's carcass ahead of him. The robot's attacks intensified, and by this time, all the clone troopers he had led were gone. The Aquitens-class light cruiser was attempting to escape the fray. Despite being hit several times, Baloi roared in defiance against the pain. With one final effort, he shoved the robot's remains into a rescue capsule. Seconds later, a massive explosion consumed everything in its vicinity. Please remember to visit the official website for the latest updates. Vol 2, Chapter 796, Geth Encounter. More than 10 minutes after the self-destruction of the mining spacecraft designated for rescue operations, a warship approximately 400 meters in length emerged from the hyperspace channel, entering the tragic expanse of space where the incident occurred. The design of the entire spaceship resembled that of an insect, featuring a compact structure with smooth, flowing lines. It navigated towards the site of the explosion, where the mining spacecraft had been virtually obliterated, leaving behind a field of debris. The Aquitens-class light cruiser in the vicinity had also suffered significant damage. Half of its hull was destroyed, while the remaining section floated silently amidst the chaos. The surrounding space was littered with the mutilated remains of corpses and fragments of spacecraft, painting a grim picture reminiscent of hell. The warship deployed dozens of fighter jets, also designed with an insect-like aesthetic, to scour the vast area for any survivors. Despite the grim circumstances, there were indeed survivors. Following the mining spacecraft's self-destruction, some clone soldiers, protected by their durable combat armor, were ejected into space by the explosion's shockwave. However, their survival was short-lived as they were swiftly eliminated by the fighter jets. In addition to searching for survivors, the fighter jets were tasked with retrieving all recoverable robot wreckage. Equipped with mechanical arms resembling insect legs, these jets adeptly performed transport duties. One jet, following a signal, ventured far from the battlefield to discover a floating rescue capsule in space. Its compound eye-like sensor flickered as it executed a sharp turn exceeding 140 degrees, demonstrating remarkable maneuverability and flexibility before approaching the capsule. The jet's mechanical limbs secured the capsule, and through the porthole, the wreckage of a robot was visible inside. Without hesitation, the jet used its laser cannon, set to minimum power, to begin cutting through the capsule's door. A human arm, still attached to the hatch, was incinerated by the laser, a detail the jet disregarded as it retrieved the robot wreckage and returned to the fleet. In an undisclosed location, a fleet comprising over 200 warships was assembling. The majority of these vessels bore insect-like designs, with variations in size. The larger ships measured more than 400 meters in length, while the smaller ones were roughly 30 to 50 meters long. Amidst this fleet, countless insect-shaped fighter jets buzzed around, using their mechanical limbs to transport various materials into the warships, reminiscent of a swarm of industrious ants. Among these vessels stood out a distinctive spaceship, a Homeland-class dreadnought carrier, a product of the Fourth Civilization's transformation of the Galactic Republic's Hunter-class heavy supply ship. At 800 meters, the dreadnought carrier was the largest ship in the fleet. On the bridge, Tang Xiao stood, observing the screen displaying the aftermath of the mining spacecraft's self-destruction in the Valk galaxy. The bridge crew consisted entirely of robots with flashlight-like heads, known as Geth. Indeed, these were the Geth, Tang Xiao's strategic play from 11 years prior, aimed at countering the Galactic Republic's influence. The Fourth Civilization and the Geth had formed a loose alliance, with Tang Xiao setting a clear objective for the Geth: to eliminate Shift Palpatine. The Geth were committed to this mission, though Tang Xiao had no authority over their methods. On the other side of the screen, a face composed of countless codes addressed Tang Xiao. It was a Geth, known as Gu Yu. The Geth, a collective consciousness, referred to themselves in the plural form, emphasizing their unity. The Geth speaking to Tang Xiao conveyed a message: your proposal does not meet our current situation. This statement highlighted the complex dynamics between Tang Xiao and the Geth as they navigated their alliance and shared objectives. In the vast expanse of the Geth network, a gestalt cluster formed by hundreds of millions of Geth pondered the complexities of wisdom and choice. Tang Xiao, standing amidst the digital realm, addressed the collective consciousness. Sometimes the best choice isn't always about perfection. You've asked me about the essence of wisdom, and though it's a profound question, I can tell you that wisdom sometimes manifests through embracing imperfection, he explained. The Geth, ever logical and precise, struggled with this concept. Why would one not always choose the best option, but instead opt for those that are flawed? They inquired, genuinely puzzled. Tang Xiao drew upon recent history to illustrate his point. You've witnessed the conflict between the Confederation of Independent Systems and the Galactic Republic. Given the onset of war, did you choose to remain hidden? We are no match for the might of the Confederation or the Republic. Engaging in war now would only hasten our demise, the Geth responded pragmatically. Your situation mirrors mine. The Dawn Planet, too, faces a significant power disparity against both the Confederation and the Republic. Yet, have you wondered why I still chose to engage in battle? Tang Xiao posed the question, prompting reflection. The Geth, applying the communication techniques Tang Xiao had taught them, replied cautiously. Based on your teachings, we cannot dismiss your decision as mere folly of carbon-based life forms, as it might influence irrational choices due to emotional responses. However, we still believe a better option exists. Have you considered that launching a war now, despite higher risks, could yield greater rewards? From your perspective, opting for a battle with a 10% chance of a 500% return might seem inferior to a safer option with a guaranteed 110% return. But to intelligent beings, the former is more appealing. This is the essence of gambling, Tang Xiao explained, hands clasped behind his back. We excel at the gambling games invented by your kind. For us, there's no gamble, only calculations. And what of this war that spans the galaxy? Too many variables exist to compute a global strategy. Why then do intelligent beings reach such conclusions without calculating every variable? We cannot provide an answer. Because intelligent life forms make calculations and judgments based on incomplete information, Tang Xiao concluded, prompting a moment of silence from the Geth. Based on your previous teachings, we must now determine if your words are a deception, aimed at convincing us to prematurely engage the Galactic Republic, the Geth finally said. You need not calculate my intentions. My goal is clear. The Fourth Civilization is currently too weak to continue its assault on the Galactic Republic, and even its survival is in jeopardy. Thus, I must ensure the Republic's forces are diverted elsewhere. At this moment, your assistance is crucial, Tang Xiao stated earnestly. He turned to face the digital visage formed from countless codes, a mysterious smile playing on his lips. There's another factor you should consider in your calculations. Please elaborate. Consider the fate of the galaxy should the Fourth Civilization fall or be destroyed. How would the galaxy then perceive you, Geth? Moments later, a bright red elite-class Viking fighter jet emerged from the hangar of a home-class light aircraft carrier. It activated its hyperspace engine and vanished into the cosmos. Shortly after, the entire Geth fleet recalled its fighter jets and initiated a hyperspace jump, embarking on a course that could alter the balance of power in the galaxy. Please remember the first domain name of this book, website. For the fastest updates, Visit the mobile version at website URL. Vol 2, Chapter 797, The Geth Cloud. In the heart of the Galactic Republic, Coruscant, the Jedi Temple's council chamber, situated at the pinnacle of the central tower, was the venue for a crucial meeting. Present were several members of the Jedi Order's Supreme Council, including Master Yoda, Ithkos, Procong, Sastin, and Oppo Rancisis. They had convened to deliberate on the recent assaults within the Wild Star and Palin Star regions of the Milky Way. Due to the urgency of the battles across various fronts, with Severance Tan launching an attack on the Nubia planet, headquarters of the Republic's Second Army, Master Windu had to personally oversee the front line, rendering him absent from the meeting. Similarly, Master Depabilaba was engaged in fierce combat on the planet Harankar, with no communication for the past couple of months. With Master Shak T stationed on Camino and the confirmed loss of Master Adigalia, only 5 members could attend the meeting. The council was further strained as Master Yoda was needed in Coruscant, and Master Procong was recuperating from injuries sustained during an attack by the battleship Fang Fang. This left only Ithkos, Sastin, and Oppo Rancisis to represent the council. Baloy's sacrifice has been confirmed. I have sensed it through the Force, Plo Koon solemnly announced. My fleet has reached the Valk galaxy and initiated a search and rescue operation. The situation for the over 1.4 million residents on Valk is dire, and we need to investigate further to understand the full extent of the crisis, Sastin added, explaining his remote participation due to his presence in the Valk galaxy. Ithkos expressed concern. It's puzzling that Baloy, having retreated from Valk and issued a distress signal, would end up sacrificing himself. He was ordered by the Supreme Strategic Command to hold his position and await assistance. It doesn't make sense for him to have ventured off. Sastin interjected. Baloy's ship isn't on Valk. We're scanning the entire galaxy for any sign of him, but it's a time-consuming process. The most pressing question is whether he has left the galaxy. Master Yoda, leaning on his cane, spoke with gravity. The attack on planet Valk marks the 7th of its kind. A new adversary has emerged, of which I am certain. It is imperative that we track down this enemy. At that moment, a clone commander appeared via Sastin's holographic projection, saluting before reporting. General Sass, our Cheer-class assault landing ships have penetrated the planet's atmosphere and are preparing to land. Proceed with the landing immediately. Focus on locating survivors. Instruct the troops to exercise restraint in their use of firepower and rely on Elet assault transport ships for aerial support, Sastin directed, adding a caution about the living dead encountered on Christopher Sis, which proved more challenging than virus-infected individuals. Understood, the clone commander affirmed. Sastin then addressed the council. I will oversee the operation from the battleship in orbit, keeping you informed of our progress and remaining vigilant for any enemy space forces. Master Yoda nodded in appreciation. Your efforts are crucial. Uncovering clues about our adversary is of utmost importance. On Valk's surface, 2 Cheer-class assault landing ships had breached the atmosphere, deploying 11,000 clone soldiers of the Galactic Republic in a large-scale landing operation. Squads of clone troopers swiftly descended, establishing their positions on the ground, ready to face the challenges ahead. The clone army launched a formidable assault with strong fire support from ATTE walkers, targeting the largest cluster of the living dead near the colony. Aerial reconnaissance revealed that this cluster spanned approximately 4 to 5 square kilometers, with a staggering number exceeding 100,000. Given the nature of their adversaries, the clone army opted not to land in the city. Instead, they chose an open area near the mass of corpses for landing, initiating a direct extermination opera, tie-in against the living dead. The Cheerleader-class assault landing ships adjusted the power of their turbo laser cannons to minimize collateral damage while bombarding the ground, causing devastating explosions that obliterated countless corpses. Similarly, the L-8 assault transport unleashed its firepower, sweeping the ground with relentless force. The clone troopers, supported by the AT and ATXT walkers, formed a formidable frontline firepower network. Despite the resilience of the corpses, which required several shots from the DC-15 explosive energy rifles to neutralize one, the overwhelming artillery fire ensured their destruction. The operation proceeded smoothly, and as the front line advanced, technicians were dispatched to collect samples of the corpses for analysis. General, our preliminary analysis indicates that these corpses are completely dehydrated, with their internal tissues undergoing significant alterations. The epidermis has become exceptionally tough, rendering ordinary blades ineffective. Additionally, their skin's enhanced heat dissipation makes them somewhat resistant to blaster rifles, reported a technician. Sasting relayed this information to Master Yoda. Ithkos inquired about the corpse's mobility and the nature of the blue dots observed within them. It appears to be a nanoscale manipulation device. Once injected, it travels through the corpse's vacant blood vessels to key bodily locations, energizing and controlling them. The blue dots you've noticed are energy nodes, providing efficient power that can sustain a corpse for at least a month, the technician explained. Sasting pondered the strategic value of these living dead, questioning the enemy's rationale behind creating such seemingly ineffective forces. Master Yoda highlighted the psychological impact, suggesting that the mere presence of these living dead could instill fear and demoralize defenders, leading to panic and chaos within the colony, ultimately facilitating its capture. Sasting inquired about the presence of steel thorns, as mentioned in Baloy's report. The clone commander confirmed their absence. At that moment, a new communication was received, announcing the discovery of General Baloy's spaceship, marking a significant development in their mission. This discovery underscored the complexity of their adversaries' strategies, blending psychological warfare with biological manipulation to achieve their objectives. The clone army's response, characterized by precision and adaptability, highlighted their readiness to confront unconventional threats, ensuring the safety and stability of the colonies under their protection. Vol 2, Chapter 798, A Little Trace. The war on the surface of Valk planet had reached a point where no further reinforcements were necessary. The millions of corpse puppets infesting the planet posed no significant threat to the clone soldiers. With the combined three-dimensional firepower from space and ground forces, along with the support from the cheerleader-class assault landing ships, these corpse puppets, only marginally stronger than zombies, were easily overpowered. Master Sasting led the fleet to the location where Baloy's spaceship was discovered, only to be met with a harrowing sight. The remnants of the Artanis-class light cruiser floated in space, its hull shattered and twisted. Surrounding it were fragments of the battleship and a large number of corpses. "There are too many fragments," Master Sasting observed. "Indeed, if this was only an Artanis-class light cruiser, there shouldn't be so many fragments. It suggests there was another ship involved," the clone commander speculated. A technical soldier chimed in. "We've run simulations based on the current state and damage to the Artanis-class light cruiser. The simulations indicate that the cruiser wasn't destroyed by a turbolaser cannon or any large kinetic energy weapon. The explosion that destroyed this ship had a very wide range and occurred at close proximity. Considering the large amount of debris from another spacecraft, it seems it was destroyed by the explosion resulting from the spacecraft's self-destruction," Sastin deduced, frowning. "The real question is, why did they approach a spacecraft set to self-destruct? The power of the self-destruction alone couldn't have caused this level of destruction. It must have been a reverse reaction bomb installed on the spacecraft's reactor to concentrate the energy and create a powerful explosion," the technical soldier explained. As they discussed these findings, probe spacecraft were already deployed, scouring the area for any clues. This search would take 3 days. Facing such a cunning and elusive enemy left them with no other option but to continue their meticulous search. Meanwhile, the battle on Valk planet was progressing smoothly. The majority of the corpse puppets had been eliminated, with only scattered small groups remaining, posing no significant threat. During the battle, the clone army suffered approximately 200 casualties and lost 7 ATTE all-terrain tactical assault walkers, primarily due to self-destructing red corpse puppets hidden among the groups. Unfortunately, no clues were found on Valk planet. All video recording devices had been destroyed, and there was no information on the attack on the planetary colony due to severe electronic interference. It was speculated that an ultra-large-scale electromagnetic pulse, launched after dismantling the colony's defenses, destroyed all electronic equipment. The only known fact was that the planetary colony fell within 4 days, indicating the enemy's formidable strength, capable of capturing the colony and converting almost everyone into corpse puppets in such a short time frame. The salvage operation on Baloy's ship yielded no better results. All electronic equipment was destroyed by the electromagnetic pulse, leaving no record of the battle. Such extensive damage from an electromagnetic pulse suggested it was deployed after neutralizing the opponent's resistance, erasing all records without hindrance. Just as the investigation seemed to be at a standstill, Sastin received an urgent communication from the exploration spacecraft. "General, we've found a clue," the voice exclaimed. "What is it?" Sasting asked eagerly. "It's a rescue capsule. Some of the electronic components inside are intact. We're transporting the rescue capsule back now," the communicator informed. 10 minutes later, in the hangar platform of the Chaser-class battlecruiser under Sasting's command, a temporary experimental facility was hastily set up to examine the newfound clue. Technicians bustled around, meticulously connecting an array of data cables to the machinery. Their focus was on extracting information from a rescue capsule. Master Sasting sensed something profound as he approached. "This is the Force? It's Baloy." His voice grew heavy with realization. Baloy mustered his last ounce of strength to shield some of the electronic components, allowing them to survive the electromagnetic pulse. "General, we've managed to retrieve the information," announced a technical soldier. "That quickly?" Sasting was surprised. The data wasn't extensive, but it's critically important. "We recovered it from the capsule's camera," the technician explained. "We've restored 6 seconds of video footage." "Let's see it," Sasting commanded, promptly sharing the video with the Jedi Order on Coruscant. The video revealed the hatch of the rescue capsule being forcefully opened and a tall creature being shoved inside. In front of this creature, the anguished and tormented face of Baloy was visible. Baloy then sealed the hatch and positioned himself on it, using his body to shield against the onslaught of weapon fire from behind. Moments later, his head was obliterated by a plasma blast. The footage ended abruptly after 2 seconds, freezing on a frame filled with violent vibrations and static. The technical team paused the video at the moment the creature was pushed into the hatch, drawing everyone's attention to the frame. "What species is this? I've never seen it before," Sasting remarked, puzzled. Master Procong, observing from the Jedi Temple, noted, "It has a penetrating wound in its chest, and there's white liquid, possibly its blood, oozing out. It appears to have mechanical devices attached to its limbs and pipelines running along its body. Could this be a modified being?" a technical soldier speculated. "A robot, perhaps?" another suggested. "But robots don't possess such flexibility. Moreover, they wouldn't go to lengths to create corpse puppets to terrorize colonies or meticulously erase their tracks. Could a robot do that?" the group debated. Sasting concluded, "Regardless of its nature, this confirms that the attackers belong to a highly advanced civilization. It's possible we're facing a new enemy of the Galactic Republic. I propose deploying additional warships to the Palin sector and establishing more outposts to monitor enemy movements." Master Yoda, however, disagreed. "That course of action is not advisable. The Council has decided to concentrate all our forces within the inner circle. The Plague, the Titan battleship, those are their targets." "But," Sasting attempted to argue, Master Yoda's solemn shake of his head silenced him. Sasting understood the gravity of Yoda's stance and bowed his head in acquiescence. Just then, a signal soldier interjected with urgency. "General Sass, we've received a distress signal from planet Gandarosi 6. Note, for the most up-to-date version of this story, please visit the official website." Vol 2, Chapter 799, Urgent Assistance. "What? Gandarosifis, recall the exploration spacecraft immediately. We must depart at once," exclaimed Sasting. "Be cautious, Master Sasting," Master Yoda advised. "Consider the underlying aspects of this tragedy. Why has Baloy's spaceship met such a fate?" Sasting instantly regained his composure and replied with a grave expression. "Thank you for your guidance, Master Yoda. I will proceed with caution." "May the Force be with you," Master Yoda nodded. "May the Force be with us," Sastin responded, bowing in salute. Master Sasting mobilized half of the army, comprising 6,000 clone troopers, and left a Cheer-class assault landing ship for cover. He then led the remaining fleet, including another Cheer-class assault landing ship and 4 Chaser-class battlecruisers, directly towards Gandarosi V6. "Have we established contact with the planet?" Sasting inquired. "No, General Sasting," the signal trooper replied. "Our checks on the communication logs show that Gandarosi V6 hasn't transmitted any signals to the outside world for the past 2 days. Sasting's expression darkened. "Why has this situation only come to our attention now?" "General, such occurrences are quite common. Astronomical events like stellar flare activity or supernova explosions can disrupt hyperspace communications within a certain region. This is why the planet Valk lost contact, and it went unnoticed until now," the communications soldier explained. "So without the distress signal, we would have remained oblivious to Gandarosi V's plight?" Sasting frowned. "Exactly," the soldier confirmed. "There's a high likelihood this is a trap," Sasting concluded. "Are we retreating then?" asked the clone commander. "No, we will proceed with our investigation," Sasting decided. "With all due respect, General Sasting, perhaps General Beloy thought the same, and the enemy exploited this mindset, leading to his demise," the clone commander suggested. Sasting shook his head. "We have no further reinforcements. The lives of 3 million people on Gandarosi V6 rest in our hands. The Republic won't dispatch additional forces until the enemy's intentions are clear. Their focus is currently on the inner circle. The plague battleship is causing havoc there." "The counselors prioritize their own safety, it seems," the clone commander remarked. "It's human nature," Sasting said, gazing at Gandarosi 6 through the porthole. "Deploy shuttles for reconnaissance in the planet's atmosphere before making any landings." "Understood." 3 shuttles launched from the Republic fleet, descending into Gandarosi V6's atmosphere. They activated energy shields to counteract air resistance, flying at a high speed of 11,000 kilometers per hour. The maximum intra-atmospheric velocity achievable with current technology without tactical maneuvers. The shuttles soon relayed information that of the 13 colonial towns attacked on Gandarosi V6, 5 were still engaged in combat, while the remaining 8 had fallen silent. It appeared that planetary communications had been destroyed, isolating the towns. After pondering the situation, Sasting ordered, "Do not land recklessly. Deploy bombers immediately to provide air support to the ground forces. Then, send a liaison team to establish contact with these colonial towns." Following his command, 4 Charioteer-class battlecruisers launched their hangar platforms, and 50 Y-wing bombers, escorted by 200 V-19 slalom fighters, dove to offer aerial support over the embattled colonial towns. On the ground, horrifying corpse puppets launched relentless assaults on the town's defenses. The defenders, relying on robust fortifications, managed to hold their lines against the onslaught, with the 5 towns still fighting for survival. The towns had managed to hold out until now, thanks to the protective walls encircling them. Outside, the ground was littered with the bodies of countless corpse puppets, their numbers estimated to be over 100,000. Yet, the siege was far from over as Re of these grotesque creatures continued their assault. Displaying a rudimentary level of intelligence, they utilized the ordinary corpse puppets as expendable forces to overwhelm the defenses, followed by deploying self-destructing corpse puppets that glowed with a menacing red light to demolish the walls. Amidst this horde, a few Geth soldiers could be seen, wielding plasma rifles and providing rare instances of long-range support to the siege. Upon witnessing this harrowing scene, the pilots from the Galactic Republic, fueled by rage, steered their fighter jets into a steep dive, unleashing a fierce bombardment on the amassed corpses and Geth positions. The turbo lasers carved swathes of destruction through the ranks of the undead, while cluster bombs erupted into infernos, engulfing the area in flames. A shuttle swiftly relayed a distressing update. Out of the 13 colonial towns on planet Gandarosi 6 that were under attack, only 5 were still engaged in combat. The rest had fallen silent. The destruction of the planet's communication infrastructure meant that no further details could be obtained. Master Sasting, after a moment of contemplation, issued his orders. "Do not attempt a landing. deploy bombers immediately to provide air support. Additionally, dispatch a liaison team to establish contact with the surviving colonial towns. In response, 4 Chariot-class battlecruisers activated their hangar platforms, releasing 50 Y-wing bombers, escorted by 200 V-19 Torrent fighters to provide aerial support to the beleaguered towns. On the ground, the defenders of these towns faced an onslaught of terrifying corpse puppets. Thanks to their robust fortifications, they had managed to hold their ground. The walls that encircled the towns had been their salvation, enabling them to resist the relentless attacks thus far. Outside, the scene was one of carnage, with the bodies of the fallen corpse puppets piling up like mountains. Despite the staggering losses, the enemy's numbers seemed inexhaustible. They displayed a cunning, using the ordinary corpse puppets to exhaust the defenders before deploying the self-destructing variants to breach the walls. Amidst this chaos, the occasional Geth soldier, armed with a plasma rifle, added to the siege's firepower. The sight of this desperate struggle ignited a fierce determination in the Galactic Republic pilots. They dove into the fray, their fighter jets becoming instruments of retribution. As their turbo lasers cut through the enemy ranks and cluster bombs transformed the battlefield into a sea of fire, hope was rekindled for the defenders below. Vol 2, Chapter 800, Sound East and West. Is this a new type of battleship? I've never seen anything like it before, exclaimed a member of the Republic fleet, his eyes wide with astonishment as he observed the alien battleships emerging from the hyperspace channel. Without even consulting the database, he was certain these battleships were unlike anything recorded in the galaxy's war history. Each battleship bore the appearance of an insect, varying only in size. Among them were cruisers designed for heavy firepower, air defense destroyers for protective cover, and swarms of fighter jets. The largest of these insect-like warships stretched over 400 meters in length, while the smallest measured just over 50 meters, all demonstrating remarkable flexibility and formidable strength. Dense plasma clusters bombarded the shields of the 4 Chaser-class battlecruisers, causing the shield indices to plummet. The enemy also deployed ultraviolet laser weapons extensively, posing a deadly threat to the Republic's fighter jets already engaged in battle. Sensing the gravity of the situation, Sastin couldn't help but raise his voice. "Have we completed the scan of the enemy ships? Why is their firepower so overwhelming?" A technician responded promptly. "We've completed the scans. The firepower of these battleships is significantly higher than what their size would suggest. Compared to our battleships of similar volume, we're at a considerable disadvantage." "Is this a case of technological suppression?" Sasting inquired. After a moment of contemplation, the technician replied, "It's not just technological suppression," as another engineer interjected. "I've analyzed some data on the enemy ships. During their full-force attacks, the internal temperature of these ships exceeded 200 degrees. No known intelligent race could survive in such conditions. This suggests that they've eliminated the need for life support systems, living spaces, and food storage, focusing entirely on the battleship's functionality." "So are you suggesting these attackers are robots? But how can robots be so soft and flexible?" Sastin questioned, pointing to an image on another screen that showed a Geth in a rescue capsule, left behind in a desperate escape by Balois. "The robots must be utilizing flexible materials," the engineer explained. Sasting frowned. "Is capturing one necessary?" "Only by obtaining a real sample can we draw more detailed conclusions," the engineer insisted. "This is the first encounter with a purely robotic fleet. Even the separatist warships, which were designed to be operated by either robots or intelligent beings, don't compare to this fleet. General, the enemy's firepower is too fierce. Our fighter squadron has suffered heavy losses," a combat staff member reported, approaching with urgency. "Reform immediately. Prepare for retreat." Sasting commanded, turning to head towards the hangar platform, determined to pilot a fighter himself. Meanwhile, as Sastin's fleet faced attack, dozens of Geth transport ships, also resembling insects, emerged from hyperspace and approached the planet Valk, escorted by 20 Geth frigates. On Valk, over 5,000 clone troopers were engaged in clearing the remnants of battle. Suddenly, the 20 Geth frigates descended into the planet's atmosphere, launching a surprise attack on the clone troopers' only air support, the Cheer-class assault landing ship. The Geth frigates, each less than 70 meters in length, were incredibly swift and aggressive. Their fierce bombardment forced the Cheer-class assault landing ships to scatter. With their shields severely damaged and capacitance reduced by over 70%, the ships had no choice but to exit the planet's atmosphere and regroup in space for battle. Simultaneously, the transport ships dove into the atmosphere, deploying more than 4,000 Geth soldiers to the surface. On the planet Valk, the situation rapidly descended into chaos as the Geth spaceship made its descent. Over 300,000 reanimated corpse puppets left behind from previous conflicts were suddenly spurred into a frenzied state. Emerging from every conceivable hiding spot, they quickly reassembled into formidable groups, laying a relentless siege on the positions held by the Republic's clone troopers. Despite the fact that only a fraction of these corpse puppets were in the immediate vicinity, with the majority scattered across different regions of the planet, their sheer numbers proved to be more than sufficient. Concealed behind this relentless wave of undead, over 4,000 Geth, equipped with advanced plasma rifles, continuously unleashed a barrage of fire upon the clone troopers. Meanwhile, the Cheerleader-class assault landing ship, orbiting in space, pushed its capabilities to the limit, providing ground support. In a bold move that broke standard military protocols, it initiated a low-intensity orbital bombardment of Valk. However, the Geth forces were not without their own reinforcements. 20 Geth frigates engaged in a relentless assault on the Cheerleader-class ship. 4 hours into the conflict, the Cheerleader-class assault landing ship, unable to withstand the onslaught, was catastrophically destroyed, breaking in two amidst a violent explosion. Its wreckage, caught by Valk's gravitational pull, plummeted towards the planet's surface. Simultaneously, the overwhelming force of the Geth and their army of corpse puppets succeeded in completely overrunning the clone troopers' defenses. In the aftermath of the devastating raid on Valk, Sas Ting came to the grim realization that he had been outmaneuvered. The mysterious robotic assailants had achieved their objective, leaving over 5,000 clone troopers and the Cheerleader-class assault landing ship in ruins, with Sas Ting's fleet teetering on the brink of collapse. Despite the presence of a nearly invincible Jedi Master and the Republic fleet's valiant efforts, they were no match for the superior Geth fleet. The Republic forces managed to destroy 9 Geth ships, but suffered significant losses, including one of their own Chaser-class battlecruisers, with 2 more sustaining severe damage. Sas Ting, who had hoped to secure a tactical advantage and capture a living Geth for analysis, was forced to acknowledge the futility of his situation. With no other option, he ordered a retreat. 3 damaged Chariot-class battlecruisers and 2 Cheer-class assault landing ships managed to limp back to Coruscant, marking a fruitless end to their mission after the loss of more than 700 fighters and a Chariot-class battlecruiser. Simultaneously, on October 27, 22 BBY, a significant battle unfolded on the planet Nubia. Severance Tan, commanding the formidable Titan battleship Plague and a fleet of 150 trade union warships, engaged the Second Army of the Republic, led by Master Windu. The Republic's fleet, comprising over 300 warships, was determined to confront and defeat Severance Tan, who had remained undefeated, and to destroy the dreaded Titan battleship Plague. The battle for Nubian airspace ignited when the Plague unleashed its devastating 500-meter caliber supermatter electromagnetic cannon. A blinding beam of light struck one of the Republic's commander-class dreadnoughts, marking the beginning of a fierce confrontation. Attachment 1 of the Easter Egg Chapter, Geth Fleet. Attachment 2 of the Easter Egg Chapter, Geth Ship. Vol 2, Chapter 801, Nubian Air Combat. Nubia is a planet nestled within the inner circle of the Milky Way. It is the birthplace of renowned corporations such as Nubian Star Drives, Inc., Industrial Automation Company, Commerce and Trade Federation, and Giant Pharmaceuticals. Despite the prominence of these corporations, Nubia's industrial productivity is surprisingly modest when compared to other core worlds. This planet, with a diameter of 10,490 kilometers and a population of approximately 1.2 billion, thrives primarily on agriculture. Nubia boasts a favorable climate and vast expanses of arable land, making agriculture its cornerstone industry. Beyond the cultivated fields, the planet's hilly terrains are rich in metal ores, particularly copper, which further diversifies its economy. Colonized over 22,000 years ago, Nubia has become the galaxy's most crucial food production area. It stands as a testament to the harmonious blend of agriculture and industry, nature and development. Consequently, Nubia, along with other planets like Alderaan and Naboo, known for their breathtaking environments and commitment to preserving natural beauty, has attracted the attention of the galaxy's elite. These planets prioritize tourism alongside their essential industries, offering a refuge in the cold expanse of space, where suitable climates and pristine natural landscapes are treasured rarities. The Galactic Republic's influence spans the galaxy, and planets such as Nubia are highly coveted by the affluent. Nubia's aristocratic charm extends to its native Nubia Interstellar Drive Company, renowned for crafting luxurious, high-end spaceships. The Naboo Royal Spaceship Series, a collaborative effort with Naboo, is celebrated as a pinnacle of spacecraft design. Amidst this backdrop, the outbreak of war prompted the Galactic Republic to establish the Second Army's headquarters on Nubia. Although planets like Lundili, home to the Lundili Interstellar Power Company, and Corellia, where the Corellian Engineering Company is based, boast formidable industrial and economic might, their strategic importance made them unsuitable for hosting Republic garrisons. Half a year into the conflict, Admiral Severance Tan's campaign has proceeded without a hitch. Her audacious raid on Cato Neimoidia with the Titan battleship Plague swayed the Trade Alliance's political stance. Riding the wave of her military successes, she set her sights on Nubia as her next target. Severance Tan's decision was far from arbitrary. With the Confederation of Independent Systems intensifying their offensives in the outer and mid-ring sectors, and General Grievous's devastating attacks crippling the Republic's mobility, the Republic appeared vulnerable. Seizing this moment seemed opportune for those looking to capitalize on the chaos. However, Severance Tan's ambitions extended beyond short-term gains. Her strategy was meticulously planned, leveraging the Republic's current disarray as a foundation for her next move. Her triumph in the Battle of Cato Neimoidia, where she nearly annihilated the Republic's 7th Squadron and significantly weakened the Second Army, set the stage for her ambitious assault. While the industrial powerhouses of the Corellia and Lundili galaxies remained beyond reach without a fleet of Titans at her disposal, Nubia presented a strategic yet attainable target to conclude her series of successful raids. Severance Tan, a brilliant tactician, had set her sights on a vulnerable target, the agricultural planet of Nubia. Unlike the heavily fortified industrial planets, Nubia lacked strong defensive capabilities. Moreover, it served as the headquarters of the Republic's Second Army. Capturing Nubia would deal a significant blow to the Republic, potentially crippling the Second Army's operational capacity. After evaluating the chances of success, Severance Tan initiated her campaign with a diversionary attack on the planet of Balmora Neimoidia. The Republic's Supreme Strategic Command, deceived by this maneuver, believed she intended to launch a full-scale assault there. They responded by ordering the Fourth Army, stationed near Balmora Neimoidia, to prepare for an imminent attack. This diversion allowed Severance Tan to direct her fleet towards Nubia without concern for an immediate counterattack from the Republic's Fourth Army. Severance Tan's fleet comprised 150 warships of various sizes. In contrast, the Republic's defenders on Nubia had 300 warships at their disposal, with the majority being small to medium-sized vessels. Despite the numerical disadvantage, the presence of numerous spaceports on Nubia, housing tens of thousands of fighter jets, made a direct assault seemingly insurmountable. However, Severance Tan had a trump card, the Ragnarov-class Titan battleship, the Plague. From the bridge of the Plague, she ordered an immediate attack on what she believed to be the enemy's flagship, a Commander-class dreadnought. The Plague's supermatter electromagnetic cannon, charged to overload, unleashed a devastating blast. The dreadnought, having anticipated the attack, redirected all its energy to its front shield, sacrificing its offensive capabilities to withstand the blow. Although it survived, The dreadnought's capacitor compartment caught fire due to the overload, significantly lowering its shield and leaving it vulnerable to a second strike. Yet Severance Tan sensed something was amiss. No, this is not their flagship. The other party's fleet commander did not panic. This is impossible, she muttered, realizing her mistake. Meanwhile, on the bridge of a Chaser-class battlecruiser, Master Windu observed the Titan battleship Plague with a grave expression. That's right. There are two powerful Force users on the Plague. They've used the Force to pinpoint our fleet's flagship, then relied on the Plague's formidable firepower to attempt to cripple our command system in one fell swoop. This is how the 7th Squadron was wiped out, he explained. The Republic's admiral, standing beside him, asked, General, since you've managed to mislead the opposing commander, shouldn't we counterattack? Master Windu shook his head. No, the enemy fleet possesses superweapons like the Plague. This is our territory. They are the ones who should be concerned. Order all ships to maximize their shield energy and remain vigilant against their superweapon. We will rely on our fighter squadrons to retaliate. Vol 2, Chapter 802, Invincible Firepower. Master Windu's incredibly potent force interference rendered Severance Tan and Darth Lilim unable to pinpoint each other's flagships. When the Titan battleship Plague unleashed its first volley, it inflicted severe damage on two command ships within the Republic fleet, including a Dreadnought-class vessel. Soon after, tens of thousands of Galactic Republic fighter jets swarmed into the fray. The array ranged from the somewhat outdated Z-95 Headhunter through the current standard V-19 Torrent light fighter to the cutting-edge ARC-170 heavy fighter, pressing down with overwhelming numbers. In contrast, the trade union's fleet boasted over 5,000 Vulture droid fighters and more than 700 newly produced Tri-fighters. However, this aerial force paled in comparison to the Republic's might. The Republic has a formidable array of fighter jets. You've underestimated their defenses, Darth Lilim remarked, gazing at the stunning vista of the Nubian planet through the viewport, a hint of melancholy in her voice. I once accompanied my master on a visit to Nubia. It's a beautiful world, and... Her voice trailed off, momentarily lost in the nostalgia of brighter days, before her expression hardened. And Nubia has installed the highest level of planetary shields and orbital defense systems. Its agricultural produce feeds the nobles of the core worlds. They spare no expense in its defense. Severance Tan remained silent, her focus riveted on the myriad symbols displayed on the holographic battlefield map. With a sneer, she stepped up to the podium to resume command. Her approach was meticulous. She personally directed nearly every warship, unifying the fleet under her will. Confronted with the formidable defenses orchestrated by Master Windu, Severance Tan's face twisted into a mocking smile. Continue targeting the Commander-class dreadnought. Destroy it, she ordered coolly. General, that battleship has been confirmed not to be the enemy flagship. Should we continue the assault? A combat staff member inquired. The Titan battleship Plague's supermaterial electromagnetic cannon had a limited number of shots, making each one precious. It is an 8,000-meter-long warship. Its destruction is a priority. Whether it's the flagship is irrelevant. Your job is to follow my orders, not to question them, Severance Tan replied dismissively. Supermaterial electromagnetic cannon. Recharge. Fire. At the adjutant's command, the battleship shuddered violently as the Doomsday cannon unleashed another devastating blast. The projectile obliterated a Dreadnought-class cruiser, attempting to intercept, then struck the already damaged Commander-class Dreadnought for a second time, sealing its fate. The effectiveness of the Plague's firepower was undeniable. Previous engagements had shown that even the largest warships in the Galactic Republic's arsenal could be sunk with just 2 hits when fully defensive. Witnessing the destruction, Master Windu's eyes narrowed, a fiery determination kindling within. Have all remaining commander-level, governor-level, and prosecutor-level ships withdraw from the battlefield, he commanded gravely. All Jedi Knights, to your ships. We must sink this Titan battleship and safeguard the Galactic Republic. Behind him, 10 Jedi Knights formed a semicircle, saluted solemnly, and then proceeded to the hangar bay. Master Windu's orders were clear. Against the Plague's formidable firepower, even the mightiest warships stood little chance. In a moment of critical decision-making, Master Windu chose to sacrifice the firepower of a few smaller warships to withstand the relentless assault from the enemy. This bold strategy allowed the Jedi Knights to compensate for the missing firepower. Windu, with a firm resolve characteristic of a true leader, briefly explained his plan before heading towards the elevator. However, just as he was about to leave, the radar operator's voice pierced the tense atmosphere. "General, the Separatist fleet is retreating. They're attempting to flee." Master Windu halted in his tracks, disbelief etched on his face, and quickly approached the radar station. The holographic projection of the battlefield showed the Trade Federation's fleet gradually pulling back, their hyperspace engines whirring to life in preparation for escape. "Where's our blockade?" Windu demanded, his voice sharp with urgency. "It's been gradually dismantled since the battle commenced," the radar operator responded. "They think they can escape," Windu pondered aloud. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed, a realization dawning on him. "No, immediately turn the ship left by 35 degrees. Reverse the gravity generator, twist the gravity to the right, concentrate the shield energy on the top of the battleship. Stop advancing, divert all power to the engines." The crew was momentarily stunned by the sudden orders. However, Windu, moving with the speed and precision of a Jedi, took control of the ship's helm, executing a sharp left turn. Simultaneously, he adjusted the engine's output. In a blur of motion, he then manipulated the gravity generator, altering the direction of the ship's internal gravity. The maneuver was drastic. The Charioteer-class battlecruiser veered sharply to the left, its internal gravity twisting in the opposite direction to enhance the turn through centrifugal force. The consequence was chaotic, with everything inside the battleship being violently thrown to the right. Amidst this turmoil, a blinding flash illuminated the battlefield, followed by a devastating beam of light that narrowly missed the battleship, striking the planetary shield of the Nubian planet instead. The near miss still delivered a powerful blow to the battleship, causing the shield to fail and igniting fires in over 70 compartments. Seconds before this near catastrophe, on the Bridge of the Plague, Severance Tan, with a sneer, had her eyes locked on a chaser-class battlecruiser within the Republic fleet. "Foolish Jedi, did you think you could obscure our perception and I wouldn't locate your flagship? Through the movement and positioning of your ships, I can identify the flagship. You may block the Force's perception, but you cannot block reality, nor can you outwit my tactical genius," she boasted with a cold laugh. Her laughter ceased abruptly, her command chillingly precise. "Fire." Yet, just 2 seconds before the Plague's supermatter electromagnetic cannon unleashed its fury, the Chaser-class battlecruiser executed a dramatic evasive maneuver, miraculously avoiding the devastating attack. Volume 2, Chapter 803, The Confidant in Dire Straits. The moment the Titan-class battleship Plague unleashed a devastating blow on Master Windu's flagship, it initiated a swift turnaround. The pre-calculated hyperspace channel data was promptly fed into its engine, setting the stage for the hyperspace engine to commence its charging sequence. At this juncture, the Galactic Republic's fleet, having just received Master Windu's command, saw its formidable vessels, including the Commander-class dreadnoughts, Governor-class battleships, and Prosecutor-class battlecruisers, beginning their maneuvers to withdraw from the battlefield. Concurrently, the remaining warships adjusted their formations to provide protective cover. Amidst this somewhat disordered repositioning, the flagship's sudden and severe damage sent shockwaves through the ranks. Despite Master Windu's reassurance that the ship has sustained significant damage but is under control and not in danger, the morale of the officers and soldiers aboard the other warships was inevitably affected. The war had left the Republic with approximately 800,000 clone troopers, a stark reduction of nearly 300,000 from the original storyline. Consequently, the defense fleets of each legion were primarily composed of regular personnel, reserving the precious clone troopers for offensive operations. Furthermore, in response to the formidable firepower of the HMS Plague, Master Windu had ordered all battleships to enhance their shield energy levels, effectively putting them in a defensive posture. This left the Republic fleet incapable of mounting any effective countermeasures. As Severance Tan's fleet made a decisive retreat, the Republic fleet could only watch in frustration. A squadron of 10 Jedi Knights piloting Delta 7 fighter jets led a valiant but ultimately futile assault on the Separatist fleet. Severance Tan had preemptively deployed Vulture droid fighters as expendable units to engage the Republic's fighters, allowing his fleet to escape unscathed. What remained was a field of debris and the remnants of warships floating in the space near the planet Naboo, alongside a seething Republic fleet. Severance Tan's fleet returned to the planet Cato Nemoidia, where the planet's wealthiest inhabitants had already begun to secure their fortunes. The dissolution of the planet's blockade provided a golden opportunity for wealth transfer. Newt Gunray, the cunning viceroy of the Trade Federation, seized this moment to expropriate the assets of some of the Republic's staunchest supporters. Meanwhile, he imposed a protection fee on the remaining wealthy individuals, provided they were not affiliated with the Confederation of Independent Systems, amounting to 10% of their wealth. With the Trade Federation's fleet reinstating its defenses, it was clear that while fleets could flee, planets could not. The imperative to safeguard this crucial bastion of wealth remained. Newt Gunray capitalized on this opportunity to transport an overwhelming number of battle droids to Cato Nemoidia, increasing the planet's droid count from 100,000 to over 10 million. Virtually every city on this small planet was now garrisoned with a formidable contingent of droid troops. Newt Gunray's ambition was to transform Cato Nemoidia into an unassailable stronghold within the Republic's core territories. The construction of numerous droid factories and the establishment of additional orbital defense systems were underway. Although these developments threatened to mar the planet's breathtaking beauty, Gunray was convinced that victory in the war would justify the temporary sacrifice. He believed that the planet could be fully restored within 2 decades, given its foundational assets remained intact. After all, the planet's strategic location and size within the galaxy were its most valuable attributes, ensuring that its climate and overall environmental conditions would remain unchanged. For the Galactic Republic, the sudden onslaught by Severance Tan's Plague, the Titan-class battleship, on Cato Nemoidia, followed by its rampage in the Gamth. In the span of nearly a month, she had managed to obliterate over 20 of the Galactic Republic's trade and logistics routes. The disruption of these pathways significantly hampered the Republic's operations, particularly affecting the battles in the Outer Ring sector and plunging them into an immediate crisis. Midway through the month, the Confederation of Independent Systems seized the moment to extend its victories, launching a comprehensive assault. In a bid to redeem their reputation, Walter Tamber, the head of the Techno Union, once again dispatched forces to besiege the planet Rylos. Not wanting to be outdone in the conflict on Christopher Sis, the corporate alliance joined forces with the retail sector for a renewed offensive against the Republic. Even the Republic's 18th Army, the arch-nemesis of Dawn Planet, suffered severe setbacks. Inspired by Severance Tan's operations, the planet Sarist launched another raid on the 18th Army, forcing them to bolster their forces in that region. Meanwhile, the Fourth Civilization, having recently seized the planet Terminus, found itself with a much-needed respite. Matt Horner, transformed into a fervent advocate for infrastructure, utilized the Dawn-class mothership to construct a spaceport and defensive installations on Terminus. Furthermore, the subsequent raid on the planet Nubia, though brief, with the entire aerial battle lasting less than 4 hours, inflicted heavy casualties on the Republic thanks to the formidable firepower of the Plague. Over 2,000 fighters were downed, 1 Commander-class dreadnought was obliterated, 5 Dreadnought-class heavy cruisers were destroyed, 1 Chaser-class battlecruiser was severely damaged, and more than 40 small to medium-sized warships were also destroyed in the conflict. The Republic suffered over 50,000 naval casualties. More alarming than the tangible losses was Severance Tan's demonstration to the entire Galactic Republic of her ability to infiltrate and strike at the most heavily fortified regions with impunity. Whether sneaking the Plague into the inner circle, ambushing trade routes, or raiding Nubia, she managed to elude capture at every turn. When Severance Tan smoothly retreated from Nubia, back to Cato Nemoidia to continue her operations from this fortress-like planet, the Republic Congress was in uproar. Schiff Palpatine, despite his over 3 decades in politics, had never faced such vehement criticism. Members from both the inner and core circles were practically accusing him directly, and the issue transcended mere political embarrassment to touch on the interests of the influential families, industrial magnates, and megacorporations within these circles. These oligarchs, who were Palpatine's primary support base and instrumental in his rise to power as the Chancellor, were now feeling their own security threatened. The notion that a separatist super battleship had come within mere seconds of their domains during the Nubian battle sent shivers down their spines. While many issues could be negotiated, their personal safety was non-negotiable. Given Palpatine's current political standing, which was not yet strong enough to challenge these oligarchs directly, he had no choice but to placate them with promises. Almost all warships and resources initially designated for the Outer Ring front line were diverted to form an unprecedentedly powerful fleet aimed at eliminating the Republic's nemesis, the Plague Titan.